Welcome to Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. I'm Rob Wilson.
And I am Tony the Quano.
So, Tony, this time, we did a movie a while back, and now its sequel has been released. And so we're doing a movie that is still in the theaters right now, so if people have not seen it yet, they can go to their local cinema and watch it. What movie are we doing?
I would recommend they do.
I would recommend they do it, too.
I would recommend they do it, too, get their own opinion on it. But we were doing Gladiator II, sequel to the Ridley Scott Swords and Sandal epic from 2000.
Yes, 24 years later.
Quarter century later.
But hey.
Without the original Gladiator, because he did die in that movie.
Though he is referenced frequently in this movie.
Oh, he is referenced very frequently in this movie. His shadow looms large over this movie.
Yes, it does. And yeah,
there's plenty of archival footage as well.
Yes, yes, there is.
Yeah, so we're doing Gladiator 2. We figured, hey, we did the first one. This is out. It's gotten decent reviews. It's doing fairly well at the box office. So might as well do something that's current.
So yeah, we were going to do a movie that neither of us had seen because we decided to do it before it even came out. So
right.
Yeah. So if it's one of those ones that, if it sucks, oh, well, we're doing an episode on it. But it turns out it doesn't suck. So
it doesn't suck. Yeah. It was interesting because, I know it's been in limbo for I don't even know if you'd necessarily even say limbo. It had been hinted at for years.
Yes. They've been talking about doing a sequel for about 20 years or so, right? Somewhere in there? 20 years?
Yeah. And I would say it was probably about 20. I would say back at least, maybe 2005, 2006. And I was like, well, he dies at the end.
Yeah.
What are they going to do?
Yeah.
Make it a sequel to Titanic.
Yeah. I mean, the original idea for a sequel was going to be him, in Elysium, where, I guess the original plan, the original story for the sequel, from what I understand, was Maximus was going to be, in the afterlife, in Elysium, in the underworld, wherever he was going to be, and he was going to be sent back to Earth.
Yes. I have heard this as well.
To basically take out Jesus or something like that.
It's okay, so he's actually going to go back in time.
Exactly. Exactly.
150 years.
Exactly. Because the first one took place in 280 AD. 280 years into the first millennium AD.
Right. Because the Colosseum wasn't even built when Jesus walked the earth.
Yeah.
That wasn't built, until, it was towards the end of the first century, if I'm recalling correctly.
Yeah.
And I think they probably realized it was a bad idea.
Yeah.
And I think even if you're not particularly pious, I think you would think that's a really weird plot.
Yeah.
So I know they toyed with this idea then of kind of going the other direction where, okay, Maximus is in purgatory and he kind of has to fight his way out of purgatory through various, being kind of sent, I guess, jumping through time and fighting gladiatorial type battles through the course of history.
Yes. He was going to be in each of the major wars, throughout history.
Which would actually be kind of cool. You could have a
but I think they were
going to Gladiator mashup.
Yeah, I think they were going to end it in the Vietnam War or something like that. He was going to go fight in every major war throughout history up to the Vietnam War. Kind of like what we did last time with X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yeah.
The opening credits going
killing Viet Cong
until the Vietnam War.
He's in the same platoon as Forrest Gump, apparently, right? So, hey. But then it did kind of get stuck, I guess, a little bit in limbo because of COVID. And then they finally were able to get off the ground. They settled on this. And I think they chose a better path.
Yes, so do I. So do I. I think this was the best version of the sequel that they had come up with. Of all the different versions of it, I think this is the best. Yeah, that they I'm glad they chose to do this one instead of the others.
Yes. And I thought, overall, I've had a lot of thoughts over. I saw it. It's funny, this is probably about 8 days ago, the day before Thanksgiving.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And I caught a 9:30 a.m. showing of it, so not a lot of us in the theater, which I kind of liked. And so, yeah, I've had, I read a lot of different reactions, both critic reactions and kind of fan reactions on social media. But in some ways, it's good just to kind of block all that out and have your own reaction.
Yeah.
Not be clouded by, especially kind of some groupthink.
Yes.
Because, it's one of those movies, I enjoyed at the time going, because there's a lot happening in the movie. And then you start thinking about some of the flaws, and that's okay. And then you start thinking, you know what? I like how some of these things work. And I think overall, I found it to be highly enjoyable. And I was very surprised because every time they talked about a potential Gladiator sequel over the last 20 years, I'm like, why do they need to make this a sequel? The first movie is fantastic. It ended perfectly. Like, there's really no need for it. And, you could still probably make that argument. But no, I'm actually glad that they made this.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was quite enjoyable.
Yeah, it was.
Again, it's not the first Gladiator.
No, it's not the first Gladiator.
I mean, without Russell Crowe, it's not going to really be that. And there's a number of reasons. I think there's a tighter focus in the first movie overall with the story, and just again, Russell Crowe's shadow, this lingers over this movie. It's heavy. Like, there's plenty of archival footage of him in it. There's references to Maximus, and fair or not, you're just going to compare Russell Crowe to Paul Mescal. So overall, though, I would say, it was a good show. Yeah, Ridley Scott just keeps churning out like epic after epic after epic these days, it seems like.
Yeah.
Like last year he made Napoleon, which is a big movie in and of itself. And then he's going to follow it up with like Gladiator 2. And I know there's a lot of discussion about like, does he rush some of his movies? Maybe. I don't know. But the dude is 80 something years old. He's made a lot of all-time classic movies. He's at the point where he's earned that right, where he can just say, I don't give a shit what you say, or what you think of me, or what you think of my movies. Yep. This is what I'm doing.
Yep.
And there's actually a lot of ideas in this movie. And one of the things I thought about watching is that you can tell there's a lot of thoughts to it. There's probably a lot of things that got cut. And there's going to probably be some 3.5 hour long director's cut.
Yeah, there probably is. I mean, it's already a 2.5 hour movie, which, I mean, epics usually are on the longer side. But nowadays, I mean, 2.5 hours seems to be somewhat standard for a lot of movies.
Everything. Yes. It's interesting. I think Lord of the Rings almost kind of set some of that standard. Like, that was like wow, a 3 hour movie. Mm-hmm. And they were all wildly successful. Yeah. I think it kind of helped kind of start that trend. Because the Harry Potter movies started doing it also. And those are also wildly popular.
Yep. So I
used to be like the giant war epics, but
yeah. So I saw this movie the Saturday of opening weekend. I enjoyed it, and then I saw it again last night just because I wanted to. It had been, week and a half since I'd seen it, and I just wanted it a little bit more fresh in my mind, before we discussed it. And also, it's always a good idea to see a movie more than once if you're trying to understand it more, because the first time you see it, you don't know what's coming, so you're paying attention to like the main story and everything. But on subsequent viewings, you can really pay attention to other stuff in the movie because you know what's going to happen, so you can kind of focus on the smaller nuances and background stuff and all that.
And there's a lot of background stuff in this movie. Like these sets and scenes, they're filled with a lot of things to look at.
Yes. So anyway, just like I thought it was a worthy sequel. It's nowhere near the caliber of the first one, but it is still a very enjoyable movie. Still, definitely worth seeing. Definitely worth watching.
Absolutely.
And there is some good action in it. Good story.
Yes, there is. Plus, it's got Denzel Washington.
Yes, it does have Denzel Washington in it.
Who it sounds like, I know when they first started doing screenings for the movie a few months ago, there were people talking about him being nominated for an Oscar and potentially winning. I don't know if he will win for this.
I don't know. I don't know.
He could. You never know what the Academy is going to do.
Yeah, I mean,
they could be unpredictable.
I mean, yeah, he's Denzel. I mean, he's a great actor, hands down. I mean, he's a magnificent actor. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think this was his best work. I mean, he was good in it.
I don't think he
was good in it, but
he's clearly enjoying his role in this movie.
Yes. He was definitely good in his role. He was good. He was Denzel, but he has had better roles.
I agree.
And
I think
that leads me to, I was very, when they announced that they were actually going through with this movie, and I was very skeptical. A big part of that is because Denzel was announced to be in it.
Okay.
And I didn't think that Denzel is quite the ancient epic type of actor.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
but I was pleasantly surprised. He fit in the
Denzel
role.
does Denzel.
Yes, exactly. Denzel does Denzel.
And
and the attitude of Denzel never struck me as the attitude of the ancient Romans.
there's varying degrees of Denzel, but yeah, he's not a method actor type like a De Niro or a Nicholson, right? Where he's going to do his own spin on things, but he's very good at it. But yeah, I mean,
he is. Like I said, I was very
performance.
pleasantly surprised with how well he fit into the role. But yeah,
one of my favorite.
He has other roles that are better suited to him.
One of my favorite movies of his, roles of his, and I mean, I haven't seen it probably in 25 years since it came out. Was right the year before Gladiator, was when he played Reuben Hurricane Carter.
Yes.
In The Hurricane.
Yes.
That's probably one of my, that might be my favorite Denzel role.
He was excellent in that.
Excellent in that. So I never actually, the other movie I need to see with him that I know he's supposed to be fantastic in is Malcolm X.
Yes, I haven't seen that one, but I've heard amazing things about him in that. And even
he was good in this.
I think an underrated Denzel performance is Fallen.
Okay. I've never seen Fallen.
That's a good one. Check it out sometime.
That's the thing about Denzel. He takes on a variety of roles. Yeah. With most of it's studio stuff, but like it ranges in terms of like highly dramatic or very kind of like detective oriented stuff as well. And also in this, right, is Pedro Pascal.
Yes, Pedro Pascal.
And he's good in it.
He's great. He's great in it.
Connie Nielsen
fits his part. The one actor. No, actually, there's two actors. There are two actors that are holdovers from the first one.
Yes.
So
because Derek Jacobi is also in this. His role's a lot smaller.
Yes, it is.
But yeah, Pedro Pascal is he's great. And it's a terrific role for him. He fits it really well. Mm-hmm. Like I said, Connie Nielsen, she almost in some ways, I think it's definitely very similar to her. Obviously, it's the same character, so it's very similar. But in some ways, I don't know. Is she more central on this? In some ways, she is more central in this.
Yeah, so in some ways, she is.
But she also drives a lot of the plot in the first one as well.
Yeah. In this one, I think she may seem more central. I think she may have more screen time in the first one, actually.
Right.
If you look at them side by side, even though she does have quite a bit of screen time in this one. But I think her arc is different. Her character arc is different in the two movies. Because the first one, she's dealing with her brother, Commodus.
It's very different.
And in this one, Commodus died in the first one. So she doesn't have that looming over her.
No.
But yeah, and this is also, 16 years after the first one.
So then we have our other two principals are Fred Heckinger and Joseph Quinn.
And then we also have Paul Mescal.
Yes. Well, yeah, I was going to get to him. The other one that we'll get to him a little later, maybe because I watched the Great British Baking Show. But comedian Matt Lucas.
Matt Lucas.
Has
I love Matt
Lucas.
Matt Lucas is awesome.
His role in this is perfect.
Yes, it is.
He plays it perfectly.
Yes.
And it's like, 3 scenes, and each scene he basically has a couple lines. And
yes,
as the master of ceremonies, essentially.
I think I first saw Matt Lucas in Community.
Okay.
He was in an episode of Community, and then he was on Doctor Who.
That's right.
So
there's another Who connection.
Who's Who of Doctor Who. Haven't done that game in a while. But yeah, Matt Lucas in Doctor Who. But yeah, he's always, anytime that Matt Lucas is on screen, it's great.
Yeah. He's always having so much fun.
Yeah.
And, it's obviously he's got a certain range. You keep him within that range and he's going to deliver perfectly.
Yeah. Yep.
So, and then the principal, Paul Mescal, who is now the Gladiator.
Yes.
And interesting enough about him. So I had not seen anything that he'd been in before.
I hadn't either.
So I know he was in that miniseries Normal People. Over in the UK, which I guess he received.
That also starred Daisy Edgar Jones from Twisters.
Yes, I guess he actually received an Emmy nomination for that. So I know he received quite a bit of notice in a lot of the award stuff, from England. He's actually an Irish actor. He's not English. He's Irish. But I took a chance because I didn't realize this is that 2 years ago for the year 2022, he received a Best Actor nomination for a movie called After Sun, which is available on Netflix. So I watched that earlier this week, and he's fantastic in it. And it's a almost devastating movie, but he's a short movie. It's probably about no more than 90 minutes. It's well worth a watch. It's about a daughter and her dad that go on pretty much it's like a vacation together to one of those resorts, but it's in Turkey.
Okay.
And she's like 11. It's like, it's at the end of summer vacation. And it's basically kind of, you get these glimpses of it's the daughter now growing up, kind of looking back and seeing this as this kind of pivotal week in it's seemingly this last vacation that the two of them go on together. And it's a wonderful movie. Anyway, so he received a lead actor nomination for that movie.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
But now, obviously, to a much wider audience.
Yeah.
He's the lead here.
Yeah, and he was great.
I thought he did a fine job.
Yeah, he was great in this movie. He
You know,
fit the character well.
he had some giant sandals to fill.
Yes, he did. And yeah, like you mentioned before, we got Joseph Quinn and Fred Heckinger. So Joseph Quinn, of course, was in Stranger Things. That's where he was introduced to the world. And yeah, he played Emperor Geta, because in this movie there are two emperors, twin emperors, Geta and Caracalla. And yeah, Fred Heckinger is Caracalla. I don't know much about him. I don't know that I've seen anything that he's been in before. But I did watch Stranger Things with Joseph Quinn in it. And he was great in that show.
Yes, I did too.
He was fantastic in that show.
Yeah. One of the best characters in the series in all the 4 seasons. He completely owned that role.
Mm-hmm.
And
he was good in this one too.
Interesting. He was, oh yeah. And so I was reading a little bit about it, and he took inspiration from a villain in a movie that we'll be doing in a few weeks. But I will be mum about that for right now. So.
Okay. I know who you're talking about, because I know what we're doing in a few weeks. But yeah.
Everyone else has to just keep listening. And
even though
tune in a couple of weeks,
everybody else can probably guess, judging by what time of year it is, but and what happens in a few weeks. But yeah, Derek Jacobi returns as Gracchus in a much smaller role than he had in the first one. Yeah,
he's still senator, but he's much more in the background. One of the other actors is early in the movie is Peter Mensah, who is was most famous to me for the guy falling, getting kicked down the bottomless pit in 300.
Yes, that was Peter Mensah. Yeah.
He's falling with Duty. He and Duty are both.
Yes, he and Duty Veg.
Endlessly falling.
Yep, they're both falling and falling and falling. They're still falling. I mean,
they've decomposed by now, so it's just.
But they're still
skeletons.
Falling. Their skeletons are falling.
Yeah.
Duty just can't reach that holy grail. It's also falling. But yeah, so Peter Mensah always plays a badass in almost everything that he's in.
Oh, and he does it here a lot.
300, he
later.
Don't really get enough screen time with him 300 to figure out if he's a badass or not, because he gets kicked into a pit right away. But other than that, he usually plays a badass.
But, there's a fellow badass that did the kicking.
True.
Right?
True.
So, Gerald Butler just
Gerald
gave him
Butler,
a little nudge.
Yeah.
All I did was give him a little nudge. But yeah, no, great cast, and there's a few other smaller roles that maybe we'll get to. I thought the actors or actresses that portray them do a really good job.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
One of my favorites is, and we'll get to who he is later, is Alexander Karam as Ravi.
Yes, I was just about to mention him. He was excellent.
Maybe one of my favorite of the kind of very small, limited roles within this. So
I guess,
and then the ghost of Russell Crowe too.
Yes, the ghost of Russell Crowe.
We get some of his greatest hits.
They should have had the ghost of Russell Crowe come in Swayze style. Maybe Lucilla is got some clay and she's making a pot.
Hey,
and we get the ghost of Russell Crowe come in.
You never know.
But
anyhow, let's jump into it.
So before we get started, especially since this is a brand new movie that is still in theaters now, spoiler alert, we are going to be talking about this entire movie, beginning, middle, and end. So if you have not seen the movie and you don't want to be spoiled, then pause the podcast, go see the movie, come back and listen, and I hope you enjoy our conversation. But you have been warned. If you don't mind spoilers, then keep on listening. And again, hope you enjoy the conversation. So it starts out with a little the opening credits sequence. I like this. It's sort of highlights from the first movie.
I was not expecting that.
Me neither. But it's highlights of in an art style, a cave painting type art style.
Yeah, it feels very appropriate to the time.
Yeah.
Of the movie, the time period. And yeah, I was taking it and like, okay, yeah, then, it's an interesting choice of the way to do the credits. But looking back at it, it's like, yeah, I mean, given what happens in the movie, I think it's appropriate to kind of almost have
Yes,
the primer
because there is a
all these things that happen.
There's a pretty big retcon in this movie.
Yes,
that we will discuss. We will get to. There's a pretty massive retcon.
And I have a lot of questions about this retcon. Anyway, and it's fine. I don't have that big of a problem with it.
I don't either. It's just
because I mean,
yeah, it makes
part
sense.
of it. Like, I'm not surprised. Some of what happened.
Yeah.
There is clearly, fireworks.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
but we'll get to that. So after this opening credit sequence that I thought was very well done, is just basically a recap of the first movie in case you didn't see it and you don't want to be completely lost when you're watching this one.
Previously on Lost. Yeah.
Previously on Lost. Yeah. So anyway, it cuts to Africa.
Yep, and they give you the little kind of credit cards too about what's gonna that's what's transpired.
Yes,
also.
You get that. So
it's years,
16 years. It's
16 years.
Title card.
We have
basically
24
says,
years between the movies, but it's a 16-year gap.
Yeah, so this is 16 years after Marcus Aurelius died,
and his dream has not come true yet.
Yes, his dream has not come true yet. There are now two emperors, twins.
They're twins.
Emperors Geta and Caracalla, who we mentioned before.
Which we'll just get this out of the way now. We've discussed this before with the first Gladiator. We discussed it with Braveheart and other movies. Do not expect historical accuracy.
Yes, do not expect historical accuracy.
And I know some people really get tight on that, and if you do, that's fine. You're allowed to have that opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get as caught up in it.
Yeah,
I have certain questions myself about certain things that happen in this movie. Anyhow, but so this would be one first point of contention is that these are two actual historical emperors.
Yes,
but they
real life people
rule as twin emperors.
Yeah,
they ruled at different times, and we won't get into all that history, but just putting that getting that out of the way right now.
Yeah. So some of the people in this movie were real people that actually lived. Some of the characters in this movie, but that doesn't mean that the characters are representative 100% of those people. Like of what happened, what transpired in that time. So there is a lot of fiction in this historical epic.
Yes.
So,
but it's the coast of Africa, particularly the province of Numidia.
Yes, well, Numidia.
I guess before we get to that, they also talk about how the twins kind of rule, are kind of basically tyrants.
Yes.
And they like to please the people of blood, and they're really focused on expanding the empire even further. There's a lot of Caligula. You think of the Emperor Caligula, kind of definitely this influence kind of in the way they shape these characters.
Yes.
So, but anyway, we're on the Mediterranean, Numidia, which is, if you're not familiar with, would be present day Algeria.
So we get
and there's all the Roman ships coming in, right?
Yeah, but we
got Paul Mescal.
Paul Mescal and Yuval Gonen, who plays Arishat, Paul Mescal's character's wife. We know Paul Mescal as Hanno.
Right. Right now
they call him Hanno.
Who he is.
So he and Arishat are married, and they're both putting on armor. So.
Right. They're at their house.
We can imagine that they're probably about to go into battle.
Right. So very different than that first scene where you just kind of get the image of the hand going through the wheat.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Russell Crowe wearing armor, getting ready for battle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, We're starting with another opening battle sequence. Fine. It's a Gladiator movie. Give me lots of action.
Yes.
That's what I want.
Yes. Then we have the ships coming.
No.
And we see Pedro Pascal in one of the ships. And he is instructing the people who are sailing the ships. So you could tell he's someone of importance.
Yes.
One might say a general. So you know right off the bat, I mean, seeing Pedro Pascal, you kind of get some Russell Crowe vibes at the beginning of this.
You do.
You know.
You absolutely do.
And it turns out the Romans are invading Numidia in order to expand the empire.
Yep. Take it over, get slaves, get resources, things that Roman, empire expansion does.
And so Peter Mensa is the chief of this tribe at Numidia. He plays Jugurtha. And so he's basically getting their troops ready for battle. Yeah.
Seems like a very skilled leader. And I think it's actually fairly, seems fairly well fortified and good defenses, but there's a lot of ships coming, and the Romans are the Romans.
Yeah.
I mean, they're one of the most famous armies of all time for a reason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the Romans attack. They end up storming the city, and
and I think really,
it's a very short battle.
The sequences are done like really well, right? Though, because you get to the bows of the ships too, where you get all the slaves pushing the oars through, right? And then they finally, got the defending army, right? They're launching debris and fire what they can at the attacking ships to try to destroy them, right? But they keep ramming through, and they get up to the walls, and they have their own catapults, so launching fire, archers shooting. So you get all that, but eventually they break through, and they would get through the walls of the city, right?
Yeah, and then we get some Pedro Pascal badass action. All right.
Yes, we do.
as soon as they get through the gate, then Pedro Pascal gets off that boat and he just starts hacking away. He just starts killing people left and right, just fighting his way through.
They play. I like how they play it though, because you're trying to get a sense of who he really is. So you understand that the Paul Mescal character is going to be our lead character. He's the guy that we're going to be rooting for in this movie.
Yeah.
But then they bring in Pedro Pascal,
who is who, according to just about every character he's ever played, he's most of the time he's been the good guy. So he's been the one that you want to root for. But so you have,
and you're kind of rooting
Paul
for
Mescal,
him,
who you're supposed you're supposed to root for Paul Mescal. But then Pedro Pascal comes in, and it's not clear if he's playing like an evil general or if he's playing more of a Maximus type general.
Maximus was also a Roman general. Right, and I'm sure when he was in Gaul at the beginning of those movies, those people there were quite upset with him.
Yes. Oh, yes. I'm sure they were.
Like the leader there that at the beginning of the first Gladiator movie that throws the guy's head down, and then eventually, 4 or 5 guys stab him with their swords, right? They thrust the swords into him, right? He could very easily be the Paul Mensa or the Paul Mescal character.
Yeah.
Right? We don't get his perspective in Gladiator, but we get perspectives on both sides in this one.
Yes.
Which I like.
Yeah.
It's a nice little switch up.
Yeah. I really enjoyed that too. Yeah, he's coming up, and Paul Mescal is close to where he is. Hanno is close to where. So Pedro Pascal plays General Acacius.
Acacius, yes.
Yes. And so Hanno is nearby where Acacius is coming in. And we see Arishat on top of the wall. She's got a bow and arrow. She's one of the archers.
Yep.
And she turns her bow on Acacius. And so Acacius tells someone to shoot that archer. So one of his archers shoots Arishat and kills her.
Yeah, straight in the middle of the chest.
Yes, right in the chest, right through the heart. And of course,
she kind of falls back over the walls into the sea, right? And of course, at this point,
Hanno is not liking this at all. Hanno's just a little bit upset that his wife was just killed. At Acacius's order.
But you know,
But
you get both sides of it,
yeah,
right? It's like, oh yeah, he's upset his wife died,
but
like, the other
Acacius
guy's like,
was
hey,
about to get shot.
That bitch is about to shoot me with an arrow. Shoot
Take her out. Yeah.
That's what war is. It's
It was nothing personal.
Not pleasant.
It was nothing personal. Acacius was just trying to save his life. he was trying to save his own life. But
there is plenty of personal killing later in this movie.
Yes, there is. So shortly after Arishat is killed, then the Romans take the city.
Yeah, because Hano goes, he kind of goes back down in the water himself, and kind of has this interesting like dream sequence, right?
Yes.
Where it's almost kind of like Deadpool.
Yeah, it is.
Except like it's a dream sequence. It's kind of cloud, it's murky, but it's still like on the sea. But now she's like being ferried by Quran, right? Like, but she didn't have any coins in her eyes. Like, how's she gonna pay?
She didn't exactly. How's she gonna pay?
She should be stuck on the shores.
Yeah.
Like you don't have the toll.
Yeah.
Anyway, but yeah, no, she kind of says the same thing. Like, I'll like we'll see. I forget the exact words, but that they'll be together again later, and
not yet.
He wakes back up.
Not yet. That's what this movie was missing. It was missing Vagina Hansu.
It was. And I kept waiting, like, okay, is his character going to show up in this movie? And you kind of think about it at different points. It's like, okay, could Denzel Washington be a grown-up?
Could he be a grown-up Djimon Hounsou?
Like old Djimon Hounsou. Anyway, he's not. We'll get that out of the way right now.
Yeah, Djimon Hounsou is not in this movie. Though it would have been great to see him. Even if it was just a cameo, it still would have been great to see him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. He's just some dude strolling around in ancient Rome. He's free now.
Yeah.
So hopefully he's still free in this movie.
Yes.
Wherever he is on Earth, he is free.
Yes.
He's no longer a slave.
Maybe he's just with his family.
Maybe he's just kicking it with his family. He's farming.
Yep.
Doing what he does. Anyhow. So so anyway, yeah, he wakes back up. He's in the water there. He's on the shores. And they got a bunch of dead bodies in there, and now the Romans are going around and collecting basically prisoners of war that they're going to make slaves, essentially. Yeah. So
yeah, and both Hano and Jugurtha are two of those. They're two of those soon to be slaves.
Yes, but
so then we have them, basically just being transported back to Rome.
Jugurtha, though, he was wounded, right? During the battle, did he get wounded later?
He was wounded during the battle. He broke his arm.
He breaks his arm.
His arm's broken.
Full break of his arm. It's a full
bones sticking out. Yeah, bones sticking out of his skin and everything. Yeah.
Which, in 200, 300 AD, like, that's, not getting immediate medical treatment for that. That could get pretty serious.
So while they're on the ship on the way back to Rome, then Hano and Jugurtha are talking, and Hano goes and gets a stick and some cloth, and he makes a splint for Jugurtha for his arm. Just showing that the two of them, they have a good relationship. They have, they know each other. They're, you might call them friends, but.
But I'm sure they're friends.
I'm sure they are.
It's not just a working relationship. Yeah. I'll see you at the office. Yeah. No.
See you on the battlefield. But no, you can tell that Jugurtha holds Hano in high regard, and vice versa. And And
there's there remains a hint though within Hana though that that he's not from there, right?
Yes.
You can tell that he's not native, and that there's a certain presence of his, the way he presents himself, and
because they were talking before. Like, is this when they're having that conversation about? I
think so.
Yeah, Hano wasn't born into this tribe. He wasn't born into this into Numidia.
No, because this is when they're having that conversation now about Rome, and you can tell Rome. He talks about this Rome it's corrupted and it's not. I forget the exact phrasing,
and it's confirmed that Hano came from somewhere within the Roman Empire.
He speaks a lot of what it kind of reminded me in some ways from the first movie after the battle, and it's just Marcus Aurelius and Maximus just talking together, and Marcus Aurelius is just talking about how Russell Crowe said, "Oh yeah, Rome is this beacon; it's the light because he's been around the world fighting people, and he's seen a lot of things, obviously, right?" Yeah. It's Rome should be the light, is what he says. And then Marcus Aurelius is like, Rome, you haven't been to Rome in years. You don't know what it's become, right? So, I mean, the way Hana talks about it kind of reminded me the way Marcus Aurelius was talking about it.
Yep.
In the first movie. So.
Yep. But so it's confirmed that Hano is from somewhere in the Roman Empire, that he hasn't been a citizen of Numidia his whole life.
No.
He's a fairly recent, immigrant.
He moved there for a woman.
Yes.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. He's only been there for a number of years. For a handful of years. But in that time, he and Jugurtha have, they've earned each other's respect.
Yes. There's probably a lot. I'd be interested in kind of going into some of the background and in terms of how exactly he, learned some of his ways, his tricks, his trade. Being a warrior.
Yeah.
So
then when they get back to the mainland, then, they're putting in carts and, taken to...
They arrive in Ostia, which is important.
Yes, because Ostia comes back
because
later.
Most of the army remains in Ostia. And remember, this is, what's Pedro Pascal's character again?
Acacius.
Acacius, thank you. Remember, this is his legion, right? He's in charge of all these men, right? So he lives in Rome himself, but they're staying there in Ostia. And if you're not familiar with Italian geography or Roman geography, Rome is not exactly on the coast, which makes sense. You don't put your huge city exactly on the coast.
Yeah.
Because if what happens in that first scene happens, you're screwed.
You just lost your capital.
You can bring it in.
Yeah.
You bring it inland a little bit on hills.
Yeah.
So, but the river that runs through Rome is the Tiber River. Most people probably know that. But the Tiber and, the river, and they flows towards the sea, and Rome is roughly 20 miles off the coast, and Ostia was the big port at that time that was near Rome. So they kind of give you a sense. So the places are close.
Yes.
Right. They're an army marching by itself, it would take a little bit of time, but by horse, you could easily make it pretty quickly.
Yeah, and that's one thing about this movie. This movie's on a smaller scale than the first one was. Because the first one you had, Maximus, he was a Spaniard. He lived in Spain.
Yeah.
So, the movie traveled all the way to Spain. And then, Gaul and areas like that. And then, the outskirts of wherever those arenas were where he was fighting before they moved.
Oh, yeah, no, that was definitely Africa.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is, you're actually right. Yeah. In terms of setting,
With this one,
because even
this movie takes place pretty much entirely,
basically, mostly in Rome.
And then a little bit in Ostia,
the
and then
battle
some
sequence we just talked about, and then right here. So
so this is a very small scale, movie.
The first,
geography wise,
Gladiator,
compared to the first one,
you probably don't really even see Rome for like 45 minutes of the Gladiator.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Russell Crowe doesn't get to Rome until like halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
Because he gets, like I said, he gets taken to Africa. And he fights there for a while before he goes to Rome. So yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah.
I didn't really think about that.
So is this is it before, is it after the conversation on the boat, but before they get carted off to before they make it to Ostia, they get to Ostia and then it cuts to Acacius getting back to Rome.
Right. I think he gets back. I think that's one of the first things. Cassius gets back, and there's it's very similar to the scene when Commodus gets back to Rome in the first one.
Yeah. He's on a chariot and
they present him, again, it's different because then it's just Commodus, the new emperor, is arriving in Rome. Right.
Mm-hmm.
This one, Cassius, he's this hero of Rome. He's a chariot, and then the two emperors are there.
He's greeted by the emperor
to greet him and praise him and thank him
and tell him that there will be a whole series of gladiatorial matches in his honor.
Yes,
and he doesn't want that. So, he just wants to go home and spend time with his wife.
Yes,
he doesn't want all the attention and all this, but they insist, and he doesn't want to upset the emperors because he knows what happens when the emperor gets upset.
And he really just wants to he wants that because he knows they're bloodthirsty and they're gonna want to send them off to conquer more people, which it's not something he really wants to do.
Yeah,
again, he'll order someone to get shot if it means he does not get shot with an arrow himself.
Yes.
But he's not someone it's really a lot like Maximus. Like Maximus wasn't necessarily into all that because he just liked to kill people.
No, he was dutiful.
Dutiful's like that. Terrific. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, dutiful. I like that.
He had his duty and he was going to do it. And he was a loyal soldier, and he knew his job and he was good at it.
And he had the respect of his men. He fought for his men. Right. He's going to do what he can to help these men. And I think Cassius is the same way, which we will see later that they are. They're
very
respect.
Cassius and Maximus were very, very similar generals. They were very similar characters. And this whole conversation between Acacius and the emperors, it's like you can tell it's awkward.
Yes.
Right? It's really awkward. And Pedro Pascal and Joseph Quinn, especially, the two of them really, really play it well.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can tell that Gaeta is he's getting offended by Acacius turning down every bit of praise that they're trying to give him. But he's trying to keep his cool. And Acacius can see that in him, and you can kind of see him choosing his words carefully.
Yeah. He's someone that he's a general. He's a good general.
Mm-hmm.
Good generals they're good tacticians.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just in battle, but also understanding this line right here, because it's obvious right away these two guys are absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they go in
different kinds of crazy.
Oh yes. Oh yeah.
Different kinds of
I like
crazy.
how they kind of go into it later that Kurosawa is like his brain doesn't might be a little bit off because of he's got some venereal disease.
Yeah, they strongly suggest that he has syphilis.
And it's not as I said, it's
which
affecting both heads.
Which the real life person did suffer from something similar. They don't know for sure if it was syphilis or if it was something like a lead poisoning kind of thing, because they had their one of the things with Rome was they had aqueducts and water systems and lead pipes that water traveled through.
Yeah.
So lead poisoning was very common.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So,
there was something affecting Caracalla's brain.
Anyway, so what's different about these two, though, is obviously, Commodus, played brilliantly by Joaquin Phoenix, the first one.
Yeah.
Is also a crazy dude, but he's very different than what the two of them are.
Yes.
I mean,
he was psychotic.
He was psychotic, yeah. And it's funny because, Gaeta's, it's interesting because, he's very flamboyant, but he's also very intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's just one that you would just... he's intimidating because, you don't know, just like that, he might just snap and just...
Joseph Quinn...
throw his sword through your stomach.
Yeah, Joseph Quinn walks that line excellently.
Yeah.
In this... you don't know... You don't know if he's going to give you a hug or shove a sword through your heart. It's just...
But, what I like about this, you can tell right away, is that they're using these two to mirror Romulus and Remus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So they set that up. And so, it's a really interesting kind of sequence that they go through. And then, they allow him to go home. And he said, because they also talk about, we'll expand, I guess talking about like Persia or towards India.
Yeah.
They need to outdo Alexander the Great, I guess. They don't say Alexander the Great, but they want more.
Yeah.
They want to conquer more world than Alexander the Great, right?
Yeah.
So
then we get
and then we kind of get back to the slaves, I guess.
No,
now
Acacius goes home first, right? Before we get back to the slaves?
He does?
I think so.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Because it's right after this scene that we learn that Acacius, he gets home to see his wife, and his wife is Lucilla, Connie Nielsen. So she has been remarried since her husband died years and years ago.
Yeah, I mean, he was dead before Gladiator started.
Yeah,
they reference it, and Maximus mourns his death.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
right. I think there's plenty of conversation about that, and it leaves her open to her brother.
Yeah, yeah.
But then he died, so now she doesn't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah.
And then she watched The Mandalorian's like, oh.
And she's like, ooh, Pedro Pascal, that's a sexy guy.
Dude.
That's one sexy mofo. I gotta get me a piece of that. And so she's like, she called him up and she's like, hey, marry me, and also you want to we're looking for a general because the last one, he died.
And I've got the in, Marcus Aurelius, that's my pop. Everyone loved Marcus Aurelius.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
No one likes the other emperors.
So yeah. So
By the way, don't you think it's crazy? I was just looking at this. Pedro Pascal is like 49 years old, which is kind of nuts.
yeah.
And Connie Nielsen's almost 60, so there's a 10-year gap. And like I was thinking, it's like, oh yeah, like she should probably be a little bit older than him, right? Which I'm fine with. And like and she looks fine. I was just kind of wondering, like, throughout the movie, like, well, what is that age gap? Because she's definitely older.
Yeah. Yeah. What is that age gap between the characters?
It's 10. Well, the characters, I don't know between the characters. Between the actors.
Yeah, between the actors is 10 years.
Actors,
But
it's 10.
yeah, but the characters.
Yeah, never really bring up their ages. So, anyway.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, they have a nice house in Rome. He is a general. She is the daughter of Marcus Aurelius. So I would imagine that they
have a little bit of money.
they have a nice living.
Yeah. So then after that, we go back to the slaves.
Yes.
Slaves are brought to an arena. And they are it's their first fight together. They're put into a match basically as a sales pitch.
Yeah.
So because they've got slave buyers, that are watching the fights and determining
this
which ones they want to buy.
Different than the first one.
Yeah.
Where the first one, they have Oliver Reed just buys them, and then they get kind of trained, and then they get put into arena in Africa. Here, no, like they're being put on display, like you were saying.
Here, they're not being trained at all. They're just thrown into the arena against a bunch of baboons.
Yeah, and one of the people watching it is the head coach of the football team that's getting integrated in Remember the Titans.
Yes, absolutely. Denzel himself is watching, and he's like, I'm trying to put together a strong offense and then a strong defense, but more so on the left.
I think it's
left side, strong side.
High school. I think it's fascinating. When we were in high school, like Remember Titans, like that movie was a pretty big deal.
Yeah,
and rightfully so. It was a pretty good movie.
It was a good movie.
But you almost hear now, you don't really hear people talk about it anymore.
No,
it's got Denzel Washington in it, and it's got it's a good story about overcoming racial strife and I don't know. I think it's a movie that would get more attention. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so but yeah, they put it into the arena, and
they're
gonna have to
forced to fight a bunch of baboons, and they're handcuffed. First off.
Yes.
They're not handcuffed to each other like in the first movie, in their first battle. They're just, they're handcuffed on their own. But they're fighting baboons. And there's some guys, on the sidelines that are shooting blowgun darts into the baboons' asses to piss them off and have them fight harder.
Shouldn't they fight the people that shoot them in the ass?
You'd think. Like, but he
shot me in the ass.
So this scene is where you get one of the twists. One of the twists of the movie, where you got Jugurtha, who's introduced as a badass, right? He gives every indication that he's gonna be the Djimon Hounsou of this movie. But no, he doesn't. He doesn't want to be a slave. He wants to be a free man, and he loved his life as a free man, and he does not want to put up with being a slave. So he just kneels down and lets a baboon rip out his throat. Just bite him in the jugular.
It's really fascinating, like, because you're watching him and, like, even on the ship when you see it, he seems at peace. Like, okay, he knows what he's going to do.
Yeah, he's
ready for whatever it is, as gruesome and painful as it might end up being.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he kneels down, and then the Patrick Swayze of baboons comes up.
Yep.
And so he's just laying there, and they, the rest of them have to go on and fight the rest of the baboons.
Yeah. So, yeah, Hanno, he takes on the baboon that Swayze'd Jugurtha. And, he's got a personal vendetta against this baboon now. It tries to bite at him, but he gets his chain in its mouth and he rips out a couple of his teeth and then bites it in the arm. It's like bites down hard on its arm.
I mean, it's vicious. Also, he gets like feral. He's like, can you imagine him in like Deep Blue Sea? Mm-hmm. What he would have done to the shark?
Oh yeah.
Hello, just blew it up. No. He'd wrestle that damn shark.
Yes, he would, and then he'd bite
the damn shark.
Yeah. And I mean, the baboon biting comes back several times in this movie, like referencing this moment.
I mean, I'm sorry, like obviously this is well before you have social media and YouTube where things can go viral. Like, oh yeah, that's a dude that bit the baboon.
Mm-hmm.
Like they have their own ways of just kind of continuing around. Like, oh yeah, he bit the baboon.
Yeah.
That guy's wild.
Yeah.
But,
shortly after he bites the baboon, then they stop the fight. A couple of the slaves have been killed by the baboons. Most of them survived. But while he's fighting this baboon, we get Denzel.
He gets an erection watching it.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah.
Macrinus is his character. Yeah, so we get Macrinus. He's watching this.
But yeah, he's very interested.
He's watching Hanno. He's watching him fight, and he's like, "I'll buy that one."
Yeah. And by the way, Macrinus he's loosely inspired by a Roman emperor that actually did not live in Rome. So, but is again very, very loosely off his character. So, but yeah, he wants to buy a Hana. He does we get more info on Macrinus as the movie goes on, obviously, and he becomes an important character because it's Denzel Washington.
Yeah, Denzel doesn't play a small role.
Obviously, he's going to be
his movies.
An important character.
If you're going to get somebody with the caliber of Denzel, you give him a big role.
But it's going back to the first movie, so you have Oliver Reed, someone that technically owned Maximus, and Macrinus feels very different than the Oliver Reed character, right?
Yeah.
So you don't know what it is, but Oliver Reed's character, I'm trying to think of his name. Proximo, that's right.
But yeah, exactly. Yeah, in the first movie, in the first Gladiator, Proximo and Maximus have a good relationship. They have a mutual respect. All this you can tell right off the bat when Macrinus is talking to Hanno that it's more of a one-sided thing.
Yeah. No, there is, yes. He's doing this because he sees a potential gain.
Yes.
For himself.
Yes.
But they have a discussion, and it's the same type of thing where you got Hano.
Well,
Right.
that discussion comes a little bit later, though.
This kind of later, okay.
Yeah. So after this baboon battle, they're all all the slaves are eating.
Battle. That's right. They are eating.
They're all eating, and like a big like slave cafeteria type thing. They're all at a big table, and
it's just like a summer camp.
It's just like a summer camp. They start. They're kind of teasing Hano a little bit, and then one guy just.
That's right. Oh, that's right. You're right.
He just starts just whooping like a monkey. He's just like. And then everybody starts doing it.
It kind of sounds like Bernard and Forrest Gump when Sally Field is getting Forrest into school.
Yep. Yep. So anyway,
anyhow.
And then Hano starts laughing a little bit about it. It's just. See, you get that they're starting.
It's good natured.
Yeah, it's good natured. They're starting to develop that camaraderie,
which they need.
Yes,
if they're gonna survive gladiatorial combat.
Yeah. So then we have Macrinus, and he's got his slaves that he's bought, and they're all sitting on a bench, and he's wanting to. See how they do against his guy.
That's right.
Against Vigo.
I don't like this guy.
I don't either. Vigo's a dick.
I love his death later in this
movie, though. Do you think he's from Carpathia? Do you think this Vigo is a Carpathian?
Did he step out of a painting?
He could have. Yeah, so he calls up Hano to fight Vigo. Because he sees how he can fight. He calls it an ape, even though a baboon's not an ape. But he wants to see how he fares against a man. Hey.
Did they get that specific at that point to know what's an ape, what's a monkey, what's a frog, what's a toad? They all look the same.
Yeah. So anyway, he wants to see he can see how he fights against a baboon. He wants to see how he fares against a human, against a man. So he has Vigo basically try to beat the crap out of him, and he starts to, but then he fights back, and it's a fairly even match. I mean, you can tell that Hano was holding back. And he would have done better, but Macrinus stopped the fight when he saw what he needed to see. And then we get that conversation between the two of them.
And this scene, in some ways, before we get to the conversation, is like a little bit similar to when in the first one, where Hagen is kind of like putting the different new gladiators through the ropes a little bit for Proximo to see how they are. And Maximus just lets him get hit by the wooden sword several times, right? As they're instead of fighting back with him. So anyway, and then you get the conversation, and we just find out he wants revenge.
So he's like Macrinus is like, there are some people who look for certain things in their gladiators. Some
that's right. Yes,
look for hope. Some look for survival. They look for survivor. They look for whatever. I look for rage, and you are dripping with rage. If there was one person, or who, if I could deliver someone's head to you to satiate that rage, who would it be? And he tells him, the Roman army. He's like, can't do that. That's a little too much. But if there was one person, who would it be? And he tells him General Acacius. And he's like,
by the way, Oh, go on. Sorry.
So he tells him,
You finish
he
first.
tells him Acacius, and so Macrinus is like, all right, you take care of me, I'll take care of you. You know, you support me, and I will deliver you Acacius so that you can take his head.
And he actually does deliver on this promise.
He does.
We'll get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
But Macrinus should also have remembered though that Hana is driven by rage.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. Hana is driven by rage.
So not to spoil too much so far. You know, I think we're going to try not to jump ahead to all that.
But I mean, if you've seen the sequel to Carrie,
yeah,
you know what rage can do.
Anyway. Yeah. That's what I said. Oh yeah, I was right. Yeah, Persia and India. So yeah, we get back to Rome, and there's like a party being thrown by a senator there, and both the emperors are there, and it's a big affair, right? And
yeah,
I love part of this scene because like I love how there's just a fucking rhino head.
Yes, there's a rhino head on a table. There's just a rhino head on a table, and people are eating rhino meat, and
there's pomegranates around it.
They've got some of them have their knives out. They're sort of like skimming the ivory off the horn.
Kind of similar to, you know, a type of thing that would be thrown by the emperors of Rome or even other areas where they just have these exotic creatures that they've decapitated.
Although before we get into this area with the rhino head, first we get Macrinus. He goes in and he is meeting up with Senator Thrax.
I was like, he's Senator Thrax is throwing the party.
Yes, Senator Thrax is throwing this party.
Wagering a bet.
Mm-hmm.
With to have Hana fight Thrax's chief, kind of like a gladiator himself.
Although
Thrax.
Wait, just before this party though is when they're told that they're going to Rome because of these gladiator matches that the emperors are putting on for Acacius. So I only mention this because this is kind of important. But when they're on the carts going into the city, they get to the gateway to Rome.
Oh,
and
yes.
on top of that, there's a statue.
Thank you.
There's a statue
about this earlier. I'm glad you're bringing it back up.
Of the she-wolf with Romulus and Remus, suckling at her teat.
Yes.
And
this is where actually Hana also displays his Roman knowledge.
Yes.
About the two of them.
Because one of the guys asks what that is, like who that's supposed to be. And he doesn't say names. He doesn't say Romulus and Remus.
He doesn't.
But he says that's the founder of Rome.
The founder of Rome. Yeah.
They were raised by a wolf. They were abandoned by their parents and raised by a wolf.
And then Romulus kills Remus. Right? So, not to spoil too much, but that's what you call foreshadowing.
Yes.
So,
basically, Romulus and Remus are basically the Cain and Abel of Rome.
Yes, I mean it's exactly.
And I mean Romulus is where Rome gets its name.
If he couldn't tell,
but so he explains that he doesn't really explain any more than just founders of Rome. They were raised by a wolf, but. As you mentioned earlier, the twin emperors are very reminiscent of Romulus and Remus. And we will get more into that later.
But back to
so he's
the party.
Yeah, so
I talk about Senator Thrax. Here's some more who's who of Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
But Tim McGurney
Yes.
He was in the episode Planet of the Ood.
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
But also more famous for playing Lord Percy from the sitcom Blackadder,
Yes.
the 80s. So
yes, but speaking of his Doctor Who character, though, he in this movie he never drinks any hair tonic. He's always drinking it in Doctor Who.
Yes.
I guess he doesn't care about going bald in Gladiator 2.
No, he does. He obviously doesn't.
But anyway,
he embraces that receding hairline.
Yes.
Not just receding; they're non-existent.
Yeah.
Anyhow, but he's a gambling addict. He wants, that's so. Marcinus is taking advantage of this to display his guy. Right?
Yeah,
he's thinking about himself, and he's like, you don't know it quite yet, but he already has this long con going on in his mind about what he's going to do.
Yes.
So
he and Thrax make a wager,
but Thrax is also like corrupt. Like he's someone else that will be, he's willing to do what he can do to be in the good graces of the Emperor.
Yeah.
So we'll put it at that as well. So yeah, they make a wager between their gladiators, essentially.
Yeah, and then we get into the room with the rhino head and pomegranates
and the typical revelry that you might think of for one of these things. So
and you get the two emperors, sitting in their little thrones over in the corner and surrounded by people. Surrounded by their subjects.
There's ladies.
And
there's one that's entire boob is hanging out, save for one thing, covering her nipple, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. That why it's covered.
Yeah. She's got like a gold pasty. It's weird.
It's like I don't think that nipple would have pushed this to NC-17.
I don't think so.
They obviously were not concerned about this being an R-rated movie.
No.
So, anyhow. So, but we get the, they get excited because now they know there's going to be a fight of gladiators.
Yes.
Within a small space of this hall.
Yeah.
Right?
And the intention is just to, have them fight hand to hand.
Entertain the crowd.
Entertain the crowd.
Yeah.
Just have basically a boxing match. And so Thrax brings out his champion, from his private stock. He brings out his gladiator, and then Macrinus brings out Hanno. And right before they start fighting, then Caracalla is like, give them swords. Let them fight to the death.
Yes. He's crazy.
Yeah. And, of course, they have to do what the Emperor says. So their original plan of having both of their gladiators leave the match alive changed. So they give them swords.
And, they're going to do what they got to do. They give them swords.
Yeah. And so when they start to fight, Hanno is like, let's not do this. Let's not kill each other. But
because, hey, he has nothing against this dude.
No, he doesn't. Like, let's just fight, give him a good show, and then we can both go our separate ways.
He understands this dude might have a son that's also consumed by rage.
Yeah.
If he kills him,
then he might have somebody coming after him. And
that they're both slaves. They both don't want to be there, but no, the other dude's like, no.
Yeah, the dude's like, no, I'm going to kill you.
He goes,
and so so they fight.
He did not know who he was fucking with.
No. So they fight, and Hanno wins. Hanno ends up stabbing him through the stomach.
And the Emperors, they love it. I was half expecting the dude to get picked up and impaled on the rhino horn.
That would have been cool. That would have been really cool. But the dude was pretty big. I don't know if Hanno could have picked him up that high. Like, because he would have had to pick him up over his head in order to drop him on the rhino horn. I don't know that Hanno would have been able to do that with the size this guy was.
So, but the Emperors love it. They clap. They applaud. And it's funny. This is almost kind of like the, not exactly like the scene where the Spaniard meets Commodus.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Spaniard doesn't really interact with him at first. And eventually, he kind of has to. And it's funny, like, Marcinus is like, oh, no, he doesn't speak. He's not from here. He doesn't speak.
Yeah, but because Caracalla is
actually, this is important.
Asking him questions. He's wanting to talk to him, and he's not responding. And so
I forgot. In that initial conversation with Marcinus and Hanna, Marcinus says he speaks universal language, which is violence and blood.
Yes.
And then that's what he says, like, oh no, he doesn't speak this language. He speaks,
he just speaks
his
native tongue.
Like which he's thinking is violence, but it's not really violence for him.
No. But then all of a sudden, Hanno starts spouting off some Virgil, some poetry.
Yeah. Well, I think it's funny because the emperors have no idea what he's saying.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, where's that? They have no idea where it's from. But Marcinus does. He knows it's from Virgil in the Aeneid.
Yes. Macrinus knows that it's Virgil.
I'll bring up the exact quote.
Yes.
The gates of hell are open night and day. Smooth the descent, easy is the way. But to return and view the cheerful skies, in this the task in mighty labor lies. Which, if you're not familiar with the Aeneid, is something that's spoken as after Aeneas goes down to the underworld to bring his father back.
Yeah.
Right?
The Aeneid, of course, is something that you and I are both intimately familiar with.
Thank you, Mr. Driscoll.
Yes.
I love you.
Yes, Mr. Driscoll. Thank you for making us.
Mr. Driscoll.
Yes. I like that idea. Thank you, Mr. Driscoll, for making us translate the Aeneid from Latin into English. The entire book.
But, it's interesting that he quotes this part because, like, there's a foreshadowing of this about the father, right? But it's a funny way of playing it too, because the Aeneid, it's Aeneas that is the founder of Rome. Mm-hmm. It's not Romulus and Remus, right? And I could get into a lot of things about this, but I'm not going to get into that. But yeah, it plays against that, right? Because it wasn't long before this scene where he talks about Romulus and Remus and Romulus founding Rome. But now he quotes the Aeneid, which is about the founding of Rome by a guy named Aeneas. Mm-hmm. So he was also driven from his home.
Yes, he was. And Aeneas had a very small cameo role in the movie Troy.
He did. Because Troy is based off the Odyssey.
Yes.
And the Iliad. Well, not the Iliad, but the Odyssey. Well, actually, the Iliad, not the Odyssey.
Yes, the Iliad. The Odyssey is, the Odyssey is after.
Troy's based off of the Iliad. So, sorry.
And Aeneas was in Troy. He was on the Trojan side of the Battle of Troy. But he was a child at the time.
I should watch that movie again, by the way, Troy.
At the time.
It's an interesting movie. It's another movie that kind of gets into this aspect of the people on both sides fighting. It both easily be the heroes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Going against each other.
I haven't seen that movie since I saw it in the theater.
Mr. Driscoll's Class.
Yes. Oh. Did we watch it in Mr. Driscoll's?
I watched it once in Mr. Driscoll's
Class. Okay, that must have been that must have been when our classes were separate. Because I don't remember ever watching that in Mr. Driscoll's Class. We watched Gladiator.
I watched it once in Mr. Driscoll's Class. Oh, yes. We watched Gladiator.
But, yeah, I don't remember watching Troy in that class.
Troy, actually, you know what? I probably Troy was what year? No, there's no way I watched it in Mr. Driscoll's Class. I was just thinking, like, that came out when I was in college.
Okay, yeah.
So I did not watch
Yeah, you wouldn't watch it. That's why I don't remember it being in Driscoll's Class either, because,
we just watched we watched two movies in that class.
We watched The Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. Every year.
Gladiator.
Every year we watched A Funny Thing Happen on the Way to the Forum. And we watched Gladiator. And then my class also watched Strange Brew one year.
Oh, no, it's right. Yeah, no, I remember watching that too. That's right. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, my sophomore year. My sophomore year, we watched Strange Brew.
It's interesting though, because he quotes that. Now this has got Marcinus like his attention even more. That this guy's educated, right? And that's also after that you have we talked about it earlier. Ravi, who is like a physician, that was a former gladiator himself.
But we don't get Ravi just yet, because after a little fight there, then we get a brief scene where Hanno is just chilling in a hot tub.
That's right.
Just chilling in a hot tub.
I almost forgot about this. It's like Marcia's like, all right, I'm going to treat this guy well.
Yeah, Macrinus comes in
a hot tub,
and he's talking. Macrinus comes in and he's talking to him. He puts two gold coins down in front of Hanno. Pays him for his fight, and he explains to him that a slave can buy his own freedom.
That's right. But he's smart about this because he knows the more he keeps this guy well attended and in his good graces, the more he can help do what he needs him to do.
Yes.
So he's just he's very smart about it. But yeah, it's funny because he's in a hot tub. He's living a pretty good life.
It's a big hot tub too.
Yeah.
Like you could fit like 20 people in that hot tub. It's big.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about the hot tub. So that's when we get the physician there, right? Who?
Yeah, I think this is when we get Ravi.
Ravi. Yep.
Yeah, he's cleaning Hanno's wounds.
And they're just talking, and he's talking about how he used to be a gladiator himself, and
now he's free.
He's free,
but he chose to be a physician to the gladiators.
Yeah,
and I like Hanno and Ravi's relationship here. I like their.
It's a great relationship.
I like their friendship. It's kind of it's almost like it's almost like Maximus and Juba.
Yeah, it is very similar. I had the same feeling. And well, does Robbie bring up Maximus yet?
No, that's not till later when they're down in the
that's what I
catacombs.
Thought, because Robbie is familiar and knows Maximus, and I was trying to remember if he brought him up here or if he brings him up later. I knew he brought him up later in the movie, but I couldn't remember if he brought him up now. So
it was actually wait. No, it's a little bit later. It's after we find out a little bit more about Maximus.
Because there's so many scenes where they kind of bring him in. I was trying to piece all of it together. Unfortunately, I couldn't find the screenplay yet for the movie, so I could kind of piece it together the best that I could. And fortunately, it's been just over a week. So, this is why it's good to watch movies again.
Exactly. Just
get everything pieced together.
Just to let everybody know, this is going to be similar to the Twisters episode where, Tony's seen it once, I've seen it twice, and so we're kind of it won't our explanation of the movie won't necessarily be 100% in the correct order.
Right.
So we may jump around
every detail in there. Yeah, that's
when do we get
unlike a movie?
When do we get the scene with the secret meeting?
Oh right, yeah, that's right. That's kind of that was kind of cool. I love how Connie Nielsen's just like stalking the streets of Rome stealthily.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like she's got this secret entrance.
Yeah. She walks up, she pushes on a stone in the wall, and it pushes in, then pops back out. It's like I saw that and do they have a big spring back there? Like it's got to be ancient Roman technology. So how did they get it to pop back out?
Who built it? we're gonna need this secret thing to have this secret thing about when we're finally gonna like overthrow the emperor again.
Yeah.
Because we keep wanting to overthrow the emperor again.
Yeah.
Because each successive emperor ends up being crazy.
Yeah. But that's Rome for you.
But yeah.
That's the Roman Empire for you.
It is. Well, I mean, there's a theme in there about power. Anyway, I don't want to get bogged
absolute
down
power
in that
corrupts
lot.
absolutely kind of thing. And yeah,
we can get into a lot of that, but we don't really need to. But yeah, so then she gets through a secret passageway, and and there's
bunch of senators,
including
Thrax is one of them. Gracchus is one of them. So we get Derek Jacobi as Gracchus. And yeah, and Acacius is there.
Yes.
And yeah, they're plotting to overthrow the empire, to overthrow the emperors.
And Acacius is like, my legion is loyal to me.
They are in Ostia.
Yeah. They can march on the city and help take this, and help secure that the transfer of power.
Yeah.
Because you could try to kill the emperor, but if you don't have an army,
if you don't have an army to back you
to help your coup,
then the army that's loyal to the emperor is gonna sort of stop your advances pretty quick.
Yeah. Anyhow, so that's now we got, again, it's like the first movie. We got an emperor, a general with a plot to overthrow the emperor, essentially, right?
Yeah. So I mean, we've quickly learned that Acacius is not a bad guy. He's very similar to Maximus.
Right. And this is where now you get the whole drama brought back up, because Hana does not know that he is someone that wants to give Rome back to the people, like Maximus.
Yeah.
Right. And stop all this warmongering and conquering.
He just
bloodshed.
Sees him through, rage-filled eyes, because he ordered his wife's death. So the next day we have their first gladiatorial match in the Colosseum.
Yes.
So Hanno and his fellow gladiators are taken out of the Colosseum. We get Matt Lucas as the master of ceremonies.
Yes, he plays it so well.
announcing everything that's going on, and it's just, he's brilliant in this role. He really is. He has so much fun with it.
The guy that did it in the first one, but he's better than that first guy.
Yeah.
And maybe I can find his name real quick. I probably can't, but no, I do. David Hemmings.
Yeah,
is the first one. So, and David Hemmings was fine in the first one as well. Nothing against David Hemmings.
But here's one of the things I like about this movie is they actually got a little more creative with the things that went on in the Colosseum. They had some things that actually, some different types of battles and stuff that actually they did in Rome. And this one, they send the small group of gladiators out there, and then comes out a dude riding a rhino. He comes out on the back of a rhinoceros.
It's awesome. It really is.
He's riding it like Anakin in the arena battle in episode 2.
He is. By the way, this is not a CGI rhino.
No, this is a rhino.
They did a 3D printing of a rhino. I mean,
it is a practical rhino. So
which gives me hope that in a future Jurassic Park movie or Jurassic World movie, someone will ride a fucking dinosaur.
yes, that better happen. That somebody better be on the back of a T-Rex. Oh yeah.
But yeah, kudos that's actually a practical rhino.
Yes.
Not just CGI.
Yeah.
There's animals later that are CGI, which I get.
Yes, there are.
Have to be.
Yes. We'll get to that. But yes, there are some animals that are definitely CGI later. That have to be. But yeah, so and I love this because it's a subtle little callback to the first movie with a little bit of a twist. You know, so once the rhino comes out, Hano is like, stick together. You know,
yes,
he starts sort of giving some orders, just like Maximus did in their first battle in the Colosseum. But you get that one guy. You get that one guy here.
One guy
like that wasn't in the first one. You know, there was nobody in that group like in the first one. Everybody kind of just went along with Maximus. So this one guy in this one, he's like, why should I listen to you? and he soon finds out why he should have listened to him.
He gets gored by a fucking rhino.
He gets gored by a rhino. He tries to go off and do his own thing, trying to take on the rhino by himself, and he gets gored by a fucking rhino.
Getting gored by a bull, a lot of times you can, most people, it's painful. They usually survive getting gored by a bull.
But this guy takes it in the stomach, and he gets lifted up and thrown. He gets tossed by a rhino with blood just spraying. Blood gushing out of him.
Which, I mean,
yeah,
you got a rhino horn ripping across your belly. There's gonna be some gushing.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So. So that guy's dead. Then we get the rhino comes after Hano, and he sort of dodges it. Actually, he kind of half dodges, half just like gets knocked out of the way by it. He doesn't get gored, but he kind of gets hit to the side.
Yeah, he still gets
almost trampled, but yeah, he's trying to dodge it. Then he gets hit, and then it's basically just a showdown between Hano and this rhino. Which what's everybody else doing at this point?
I don't know,
because there aren't other enemy combatants. It's just the dude on the back of a rhino. So and there's still like another 5 or 6 gladiators in there. So when it's focused on Hano, can the other ones come up from behind and just
take care of some
start stabbing it and whatnot?
Yeah.
But no, they're just like off hanging out because, okay, the rhino's not coming after us, so let's just chill.
They did see what happened to the other dude.
And yeah, so this is when we get Hano. He's just standing in front of the wall, like toward the outer edge of the Colosseum, of the arena.
That's right.
And Rhino starts charging. He sort of leans down, gets a couple handfuls of dirt, and then he just does some ninja dust.
Good job, finish. Well, what's funny is like when he gets down in there, like he's rubbing his hands in the dirt. It's almost
he's rubbing his hands in the dirt.
I almost gave it away.
Yeah.
Not going to give it away.
Yeah. So we get So yeah, he's rubbing his hands in the dirt.
Lucilla looks at it, and
Lucilla looks.
She sees like, oh, that looks like Maximus.
Yeah, that looks like that because Maximus used to do that before battles. He would sort of rub his hands in the dirt to get better grip on his weapons and stuff. And
yes,
and she sees Hanno go down and do that, and it reminds her of Maximus.
Yeah, and she gets tingling inside.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
So he it looks like he's just doing that, but then he grabs handfuls of the dirt and just like throws them up like ninja dust, doing his little ninja vanish. As the rhino's charging at him, like right before it gets to him, he tosses it all up to block its vision. Then he dives out of the way, and the rhino runs right through the dust and slams into the wall, horn first, breaks the horn in half. And takes the rhino out of commission. So then we have the rider of the rhino, falls off. And now it's just him and Hanno fighting. And Hanno takes him down.
Yeah, I mean,
pretty easily.
All that guy is good for
Hanno takes him down pretty easily.
All that dude could do is ride a rhino.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to win that.
So, he gets him on the ground, and then he's waiting for the emperors to give their verdict on what the gods say should happen. Either thumbs up or thumbs down. This is a nice
little twist on what happens, by the way, as well.
Yeah,
because there's one of the sequences in the first one where Maximus defies what the emperor says.
Yes,
because Commodus says to go ahead and kill this retired gladiator that Maximus defeated.
Maximus had
won his a guy that won his freedom.
Yeah, and that was what got Maximus the moniker Maximus the Merciful.
Yes,
but yes, and this one, same thing.
There's no mercy here, though.
They say to kill him,
and you think I begin to think that he's gonna spare him, but nope. He gets cut in half.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
It's quite satisfying.
Yeah. Then what was it that Hanno said? Hanno said something here that then Lucilla heard and triggered something in her brain. Oh,
that's right.
I forget what the line was, but he said something that basically made Lucilla, just she had an epiphany.
Yeah. I wish I could remember that. Yeah, there's something else that he said. And it's not what we do in life echoes in eternity.
No, it was not that. But it was similar. It was something similar.
Oh, no. It was... no, he brings the quote again. Something about the quote. Because she goes into his old room, and it's listed.
That's right.
Yeah, it's the same Virgil quote. It's Virgil again. And she goes in there, and it was outlined... like the top of his wall. It's like kind of like a wallpaper trim at the top.
Yeah, that's right.
But instead, it's just the it's written in paint there. The Virgil quote that we talked about earlier.
Yes,
that's what it is.
Yes, that's right.
She remembers that.
She remembers that.
So she goes to where he's being held to confront him.
First, she goes home and she's talking to Acacius, and she's like, "Lucius is alive."
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
My son is alive.
She says first. Yeah.
And she's like, I know it. I know he's alive. Because what we find out is that shortly after the end of the first movie, Lucius, being the young heir to the throne,
all right,
he was only 12 at the time. He
might have been younger because we'll get into. There's a scene where they talk about his age early in the movie, but then there's obviously time that elapses between Gaul and the main stuff that's happening in Rome.
Yeah.
So I mean, they never tell you what that time gap is, But you look at the actor, you think, 11, 12 years old is probably reasonable.
So we find out that like shortly after the end of the first movie, like immediately after,
Spencer Treat Clark,
yes,
plays her son.
Which we get some little recreations of scenes from the first movie here with a different actor.
Yes,
but
it's interesting. Like there's they use
like
some
stuff.
like audio. Like there's a scene where it's basically Priscilla. Here's some of his audio that's from the first movie.
Yeah.
I just take the audio and place it over the scene. But then you get another flashback. The actor they get
Maximus, the savior of Rome. When he's playing.
But the
Legionnaire.
The child actor they get, I mean, maybe they manipulate a little bit too with facial technology and looks very similar to
Spencer the little boy that they get for the flashbacks, he looks similar. I mean, you can tell it's not Spencer Treat Clark, but he looks similar enough that it's a good recast.
Yeah,
but so
maybe they touched it up a little bit. Similar to the aging, they just kind of fix things a bit.
But so basically he was sent away right after the first movie ended. Because now that Commodus was dead, now that the Emperor is dead and Lucius is the heir to the throne and he's the heir kid, everybody was going to be out to kill him and usurp the throne. So, which is
it's interesting they bring this into it because the end of the movie is like, okay, no, Maximus kills Commodus. Maximus hands the power back to the Senate.
Yeah.
Right? And really to the people to fulfill Marcus Aurelius's wish that he describes to him.
Mm-hmm.
But then it evaporates very quickly. And even right away, she's like, I still know. She realizes, no, this is not going to work.
No, yeah. So she sends Lucius off into hiding. And she hasn't seen him since. Right. But now she's like, Lucius is alive. And then we get that scene where. So actually, and I think before she goes to the cell, the slaves' quarters, then we have a little scene with the emperors and. It's the emperors, or I think it's the emperors and Macrinus, where they're talking about Lucilla.
Yes. Well, I was going to bring this up because this is the next thing I was going to bring up because I couldn't remember if it was before this scene or after it. And they're talking about her and her relationship with Commodus and that she had a son.
Yes, she had a son, but his father, but her husband, evidently was gay. He was not into the women.
Yeah, I mean, just that comes out of nowhere.
It comes out of nowhere. Right. Yeah, her husband, he didn't like the ladies. So there's a strong suspicion that Commodus is actually the father.
And you think about that makes sense because he definitely had the hots for his sister.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and every time you watch Gladiator, it's have they ever done that deed?
Yeah, but one of the retcons from the first movie is that her husband was gay. It came out of nowhere. Which is fine. It was actually fairly common for that kind of thing to happen in Rome. It was at the time.
Yes.
For a gay person to get into a relationship with someone of the opposite sex to keep up appearances.
Hey, and listen, especially within the nobility, she's not going to take the throne, so she gets set up with some other person of some type of prestige, and it's no, we'll just do this for appearances, and that's it, and right, and
yeah.
As you said earlier, Maximus references him in the first movie. He's I mourned him when he died.
Yeah. And we don't hear a whole lot about him in the first movie, but it's never mentioned that
really after that scene when they first encounter each other, like in Gaul, there after the battle, like he's not really referenced again.
Yeah.
He gets referenced that there's a son, right, who is prominent throughout the rest of the movie, but you don't really hear anything else about him.
Yeah. But that his son is named after him.
But, and they reference too that like that she was like 14 years old when they got married.
Yep.
Right. And then, which, and think about like, okay, yeah, she's a teenager and her brother has relations with her.
Yeah.
But maybe not. We don't know.
Yeah. So it's believed that, apparently it's widely believed, throughout Rome that Commodus is Lucius's father.
Hey, listen, based off if they've seen the first movie,
it's
totally understand why they think Commodus.
Yeah. I mean, Commodus spent the whole movie trying to get with his own sister. So, yeah.
He has a strange thing for his nephew also, or son.
Yeah.
Which makes it stranger when I start to talk about it that way.
Yeah.
Out loud.
Yeah. But it's okay because the next scene we have Lucilla coming to visit Hanno. And basically reveals to him that she's his mother. And he denies it. And then she starts saying how similar he is to his father. His name was Maximus.
His name was Maximus.
Maximus Decimus Meridius.
So, all right. So it's not as, Commodus just want to, maybe fondle his nephew, not his son.
Yeah. Now, this is the major retcon that we were talking about earlier. Because in the first movie, sure, there's hints that, maybe Maximus and Lucilla had a little fling back in the day.
There's definitely hints of that.
There's definitely hints of that. But nothing.
Not hints at this.
Yeah, not hints at this. There's no hints that, Maximus is Lucius's father. And if you really look at it, Lucius's age in the first movie and the age of Maximus's son. Maximus's son is clearly younger than Lucius by a few years.
Yes. But again, when we see him, it's towards the beginning of the movie before he goes back to Rome. So there might still be some time in between there.
Yeah. But also, you look at Maximus's wife and son. His son is 8, maybe 9.
Yes.
Somewhere in there. And as we mentioned earlier, at least toward the end of the movie, Lucius is about 12-ish, 11, 12. Yeah. So at the beginning of the movie, a couple of years earlier, he would have been, 10 or so. 9, 10 years old.
Yes. I know
just slightly older than Maximus's son. Maximus's wife, you would imagine that they had been together a little while longer than they had a kid.
Yes.
So would that the logic of this movie would then lead you to surmise that Maximus cheated on his wife with Lucilla.
Yes. I've been thinking about this. And so I watched Gladiator right before this. And even there, like when he's describing his house, his home, not his house, his home, Marcus Aurelius talks about the detail about all these things, and it's detail about his wife,
yes,
and her hair, and his son, and what he says to his son. Okay,
implying that he's been with his wife for years.
It'd be one thing if Lucilla and he got together 6 months before.
6 months before he met his wife,
whatever, or they're together. It's a little bit before they conceive their child together, right? But like part of the entire journey of the first movie also is that for him to be with his wife and their son together.
Yeah.
Right. So obviously, hey, maybe Lucilla and Maximus was a one night stand. It happens.
Maybe.
Whatever.
Maybe.
Um,
and also, I mean, in ancient Rome,
like
having a monogamous marriage was
that's
sort of a rarity.
Very good point.
But the way, just the way
you can tell that he cared, the way he talks about her.
Yeah, the way that Maximus talks about his wife and son.
And it's like even it's like it's like you will see them Siobhan Hansen's like you will see them again, right? It drives all of it, and like he sees them after he dies. He's walking to them.
Yeah.
In the afterlife.
The way that he talks about them, his wife especially, is it makes one believe that she's the only one for him, that he's not going to steer away from her at all. But then we found out in this one that he got with Lucilla while logically he still would have been with his wife.
Yeah.
Who he speaks so highly of, and that she's the only one that he ever wants to be with.
There's certain things he says to her that he won't even tell Vagina Hanzo.
Yes. Yes. And yeah, so it's just that part just kind of. I mean, if Lucius was a little bit older, sure, but with the similarities in age between Lucius and Maximus's son, the timeline doesn't really match up.
Yeah, it doesn't. Because the kicker of it is the beginning of the movie is like she's talking about Lucilla, right? And Lucius. And Max was like, "Oh, my son's also nearly this age."
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So like obviously Lucius is a little bit older than Maximus' son, but not that much younger.
No. Yeah, so
they might have been carrying babies at the same time.
They might have been. Maybe it was a three-way.
By about I don't know why I'm thinking of this is nothing to do with a three-way necessarily. It has more to do with
necessarily.
I got Jack Black and the devil. Wow. Wait. One day when we do School of Rock, we might talk about, even though School of Rock has nothing to do with Tenacious D.
Except that it's Jack Black. But
Jack Black. The demon. That would seem wrong.
Hey, if we did pick a Destiny, if we did pick a Destiny someday, then we could definitely get into some Tenacious D conversation.
But I mean, like, is the demon ass fuck appropriate for School of Rock discussion?
Maybe.
Anyway,
but
back to Gladiator.
Gladiator 2.
Gladiator 2.
Yeah. So and here's,
by the way, cool styling of it, using the eye in the middle.
Yes, splitting the eye into two eyes. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so here then also just something. So it's established in this scene that Hanno is Lucius, even though we all knew that he was Lucius from the beginning, because that's if you've seen a trailer for this movie, you know.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
so then it's established that Maximus was his father, and then in almost every scene for the rest of the movie, they repeat that Maximus was Lucius's father, as if they're trying to convince the viewer that Maximus is Lucius's father.
Like, in case you're thinking Commodus might actually be Maximus'
In case you
father. No.
forgot, or in case you just don't believe it yet, let me just drill it into your brain a little bit more. Because every time that Lucilla mentions him, like when she's talking to Lucius, Hanno, Lucius, we'll probably go back and forth with the names throughout the rest of this discussion. But anytime that Lucilla is talking to him about Maximus, she says, "Your father, Maximus." By the way, your father's name's Maximus. The Maximus.
By the way,
Maximus Decimus Meridius.
Back up, Mom.
No. Your dad wasn't gay. Your dad was Maximus. But yeah, every time that she mentions that she talks to him, she mentions his father. She's always, "Your father, Maximus." And every time, almost every scene,
Commodus?
almost every scene in this movie, Commodus isn't mentioned again for the rest of the movie. But almost every scene from here on out, somebody mentions that Maximus was Lucius's father.
There's actually no it's weird because like this has to be news to him
Yeah.
because his dad died when he was probably like around 8-9 years old.
Yeah, because
So
it was shortly before the first movie.
Yeah, so he has memory of the guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, okay. Maybe all right. He wasn't 8 or 9. He was the 8 or 9 then when the movie starts. But
He's probably like 6, 7.
6. He's always, not strong memory, but he's got some memory of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Especially because like what happens afterwards, like he gets sent off because of these huge things happening on with this Gladiator Maximus that he looks up to.
Yeah.
And then overthrowing the emperor, and he gets sent away. Like there's a lot of things being imprinted in his mind. These big life changes that if his dad died a year, 18 months, maybe 2 years before that, like that should be enough that it would set a lot of that stuff into his brain that,
Yeah.
oh yeah, like this guy I thought was my dad is like not my dad. This Maximus, this guy that I looked up to as like a sports hero because he killed everybody in the Coliseum.
Yeah.
He's my dad.
You mean my dad is Michael Jordan?
The guy. I mean,
It's like it's the same kind of thing. Yeah, you mean my dad is Michael Jordan? Really?
because
The greatest basketball player to ever live?
there's no indication that she told him that earlier.
Yeah.
So when he finds this out, he should still be under the impression that the guy that was married to his mom, that he thought was his dad, was his dad.
Yeah. And I don't know exactly how I feel about this retcon. I mean, I get why they made Maximus his father.
I get it.
I get it. You have the whole legacy thing and all that, but at the same time, it's very unnecessary.
It's unnecessary because you could still do the movie without it.
Yeah.
If they're going to retcon this, to be honest, I think it'd be more intriguing if his dad actually was Commodus.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then you'd have that whole, breaking the vicious cycle kind of thing.
But they don't go that way. It's fine. We can disagree with this part of this choice in the movie and still like the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
It does not ruin the movie.
Yeah. No, it doesn't. It doesn't ruin it.
It's a very interesting point. Obviously, we're spending time talking about this, and I think it's a good point to talk about. So we got that information now, and there's still time where
so then
amongst all this, like there's still like other scenes where they're like the plotting of overthrowing the emperor.
Yeah, they're plotting
the emperors, right? because that's like she at this point after this is she goes back home and she's talking with
Acacius.
And then there's one of their slaves or servants in the background that sees him talking. And she slips back into the shadows and overhears a plot.
Yep, because everybody needs to talk about their secret plots out in the open, even at home, out in the open in front of other people.
I mean, you don't have a bedroom where no one else is around.
Yeah, or a secret lair with like a hidden button on the wall that, you push in order to get in there. And yeah, you don't have one of those.
We don't have one of those.
But they do. They have one of those, but they don't use it.
Yeah. But anyway, so you have that. So that's going on. And then we're like, even that meeting, like Lucius is still very upset about like being abandoned.
Yeah. I mean, Lucius, like, basically he denies everything that she says in that meeting. He obviously recognizes her, but he, tries to tell her that she's wrong, that he's not her son. And yeah, so
we get all that. And then we get another scene within the Colosseum. Now I think this is cool because this actually is accurate, at least parts of it.
Yes.
When they fill the Colosseum with water,
flood the Colosseum so they can do naval battles.
Did naval battles in the Colosseum. They
actually did this in Rome in the Colosseum. This is one of the things that Mr. Driscoll liked to talk about.
He did.
Was how they would not just have, land battles in there. They would actually fill the Colosseum with water. They would fill the arena with water and have naval battles with little miniaturized ships.
He did not tell us that they had CGI sharks in the
No, he did not. Which this is one of those somewhat inaccuracies because they didn't. There's no record of them actually putting sharks in the Colosseum.
Well, here's the problem.
Partially because sharks are incredibly difficult to work with. So they would have had to get them in there.
Aquariums to keep the sharks.
Yes. Yes.
You could have a cage where you keep a rhino, a tiger, a lion, a baboon. They did not have the proper aquariums to keep sharks.
They could have, maybe had some crocodiles or something.
Yeah. Crocodiles do not require constantly being in water.
No, but a shark
crocodiles
does.
Are reptiles. A shark is a fish. It can breach the water. It does not stay out of the water.
But it really only they really only breach the water to, attack the orca and try to eat Quint.
Yeah, I mean, you can go back and listen to our episode on Jaws. It was go probably about 20 episodes ago, maybe. But yeah, no. Most sharks don't like to stay in the water. I get it. If I was a fish, I stay in the water.
But
that's my
sharks are very cinematic. So of course they're going to put them in this movie, and it was magnificent that they put them in this movie, even though they're clearly CGI sharks.
No. It's like, again, it's hard to have, okay, Charles, it makes sense. Have yourself a robotic Bruce. And here you need lots of sharks. There's lots of bodies that go in the water.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of bodies that get devoured in the water.
Yep.
The water is no longer blue. It is very, very red.
Yep. Yep. And the first guy that becomes shark food, he gets shot with an arrow because they have archers.
No, there's archers, lining the tiers of, and then, yeah.
Yeah, and one guy gets shot with an arrow and he falls into the water and there's blood pouring out of his arrow wound. And so that immediately attracts a shark. And the shark just comes over and just devours him.
Yeah. Whole, no. You would think, just get pieces of him and just rip him apart.
No, it just comes and grabs him and just chomps down.
Yeah. So the naval battle ensues, and Lucius's side, they're starting to win. They're starting to gain upper hand. There's people on both sides of the boats going in the water and becoming shark food.
Mm-hmm. And they have
this one is
Lucius's strategy for this is actually very smart because both ships have everybody with oars, right? And actually before this whole battle there was a little thing with the slaves training for it where they had their little rowing machine,
yes,
with the concrete
right.
rowing machine and everything, and they just real quick Lucius kind of pissed off Vigo, and so Vigo had everybody else go and take a break and just had Lucius keep on rowing by himself all night.
The Vigo character is so weird in this movie because you would think that given that Vigo's boss is Denzel.
Yeah.
And that Denzel clearly favors Lucius, but yet he treats him like shit.
Yeah.
If I was I'd be pissed off at Vigo. No. Macrinus should be like, dude, no, this guy is prized. Keep him, I need this guy to survive this battle.
Mm-hmm.
Keep him happy, because if he can't get through this and he dies,
I need him to hate.
Fucked.
Yeah, I need him to keep hating Acacius, not
if
you.
That happens, I'm gonna slice your head off.
Mm-hmm. I need him to keep hating Acacius, not you, Vigo.
I can't wait till we get to Vigo's end.
Yeah. Yeah, he definitely gets what's coming to him. But he definitely deserves what's coming to him. But yeah, so
anyway.
Yeah, so but his strategy, Lucius's strategy in this naval battle is very smart, because everybody's got their oars out there, they're rowing, and so they're coming up to basically sideswipe the other ship, and as they're approaching it, everybody on that side of the ship pulls in their oars. But the other ship, the oars are still out, so they just run right through the oars, break them all off.
Yep.
So then that ship is pretty much stuck where it is.
Yeah. We forgot to mention earlier, before the battle, the emperors, they introduce Acacius again to the crowd.
Yes.
They have him speak to the crowd.
Yes, they do.
And he doesn't want to speak to the crowd. And he kind of actually has a subtle kind of way of trying to inspire the people to fight for themselves.
Yes. Yes, he does. Yeah, he's like, I'm not an orator, I'm a soldier. And yeah. You
can tell the emperors, they don't like what he says, but whatever.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. It's Lucius's side. They get the upper hand on it, and now they're pushed up against the wall, right? And they're against the wall on the side where the emperor, right? The emperors are. They have Acacius there, right? And Lucilla's there. And Lucius has him in his sight. So he's going to get ready to shoot him with an arrow.
Yeah, he grabs a bow, and he's getting ready to shoot Acacius. And I can't remember, did he get the shot off, or did somebody stop him first?
No, he gets the shot off.
Gets the shot off.
It gets deflected.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's like it gets to deflect it. It just misses him, right? And like they get this thing like they almost had like eye contact before she shoots the arrow, right?
Mhm.
Um, all they get everyone else to leave because like again, like the boats crash right in front of the emperors, and people are kind of excited about this, and this arrow goes straight through where the emperors are like sitting, right?
Mhm.
So it kind of promptly ends all of that,
Yeah.
right? And they don't really treat it as like he's trying to shoot the emperors. It's just something that's happened because their action's
Yeah.
so close, right? Um. So is this
Then this after this, he's being cleaned up again by Ravi.
right? So that's what
And
that's what I
this
thought
is
was
when
next.
they
Okay,
see
good.
because on the wall in this area where he's getting his wounds cleaned, there's the names of everyone who's died in the arena are etched in the wall, and one of the names is Commodus, and right next to Commodus's name, there's a name that's scratched out, and so he asks Ravi, who's that? Who's the name that's scratched out? And Ravi's like, that was Maximus. And he saying that he has heard of Maximus, and Lucius says that he saw Maximus fight when he was a child. He saw him fight in the arena in the Colosseum when he was a kid. He doesn't reveal that Maximus is his father.
Right. No. Is this then when he reveals the shrine to Lucius?
Yes.
Or is that later?
No, I think this is when he reveals the shrine. He takes him down into the catacombs. Ravi takes Lucius into the catacombs, and he's like, all of our best gladiators we bury down here. And he takes him to Maximus's grave. And above his grave, it says, what we do in life echoes throughout eternity, or echoes in eternity.
Right. Yeah. And then they have his sword and the armor.
Yeah. His sword and the armor that he wore with the two horses on it.
Which is important.
Yeah.
Which he talks about with Lucius in the first one.
Yeah. He tells him what the horses' names are.
I've heard of you.
Yeah.
It's like, I will root for you, Spaniard.
Yeah.
Dad.
Poppy.
Kick ass, Dad. Kill the motherfuckers.
Over the top. So they're they talk briefly about Maximus and all that there, and then it cuts to then we get Acacius going to get his. Is Lucilla with him at the time?
I think she is.
Yeah, because that's when he's sneaking out to meet up with his army, and he gets found out, like he gets caught.
Yeah,
and because the slave woman had gone and revealed the plot,
so,
or was it her, or was it Thrax that revealed the plot?
Well, it's her, but she reveals the Thrax. It's a Thrax,
which Thrax already knew about. Thrax already knew about the plot because he was part of the plot. But
right,
yeah,
yeah, exactly. So, but Thrax, he gets in too much debt.
Yes,
to Macrinus.
Because Macrinus basically they have a little because Macrinus comes and meets up with Thrax at Thrax's house, which then Macrinus calls his house because he owes him so much money.
Yes.
Yeah, and so in order to basically pay his debt, he reveals the plot that is afoot. But not at the Circle K.
Strange things are afoot.
At the Circle K. Listen to our Bill and Ted episode.
Oh, please listen to our Bill and Ted episode.
It's the namesake of the podcast. So,
not Bogus Journey, the Excellent Adventure.
Well, we haven't done Bogus Journey yet. I don't know if we will. We might.
No, we haven't.
We might someday.
Maybe we will. Maybe we won't. You gotta stay tuned to find out.
But yeah, go back and listen to our Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure episode. It was a lot of fun.
It's a good one. It's a lot of fun. Yeah.
But anyway, so they arrest Acacius and Lucilla. And then we get a scene with the emperors and Macrinus.
We haven't had a whole lot of the emperors together in a while. We kind of get just glimpses of them. This is the first big scene for them in a while, and it's glorious.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
They're going on about how they need to crucify Acacius and make an example of him, and
Macrinus is more practical. He's pragmatic.
Yeah. So Macrinus, he's still got in his mind that, Acacius is the one that Hanno is after. So, he's still trying to hold up his end of the bargain to get Hanno the chance to kill Acacius. So he convinces them to not crucify him, but put him in the arena.
Right.
Put him in the Colosseum against one of the gladiators. And
not to kill Lucilla because, no, she's very popular. She's a daughter of Marcus Aurelius, who's that's just going to cause too much unrest if you do that.
Yeah. And
so spare her.
Yeah.
So
and I think this is also the scene where because Caracalla leaves early. He leaves at the end of their little conversation, and then Gaeta is talking to Macrinus. And I think this is when he mentions that the illness in his loins has reached the illness in Caracalla's loins has reached his brain.
Right. So you're getting a sense of sibling rivalry.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because there's parts in the earlier in the movie where you kind of wonder if the two of them together as brothers are.
Yeah. We'll leave it at that. But you can let your mind wander. But yeah, so there's something that I noticed about this scene. That this isn't in any of the rest of the movie. Just this one scene. I don't know if it was intentional to look like this or what, or if it just is a coincidence. But if you look at the pendant that Macrinus is wearing around his neck.
Right. Okay.
It looks very similar to a Confederate flag, to the stars and bars.
I didn't see that.
It looks like he's wearing a Confederate flag around his neck. I saw that right away the first time I saw this movie, and I couldn't take my eyes off it. I'm like, what? What?
The Union Army. What are you doing?
I know, right? But I mean, it's kind of this. It's kind of fitting in a way because it's this scene is really where it's showing the whole brother against brother aspect of the Emperor's relationship with each other.
Yeah. All right. Hey.
But at the same time, it's probably just a coincidence that it looks like a Confederate flag, but I thought it was kind of funny.
A blue X with white stars and red around it.
I thought it was kind of funny. But no, it's all gold, but it's definitely it's a rectangle and it's got an X going through it. with little like circles going down the X that look like stars. They look like they could be.
There you go.
I mean, they're just little circles, but they look like they could be, the pendant version of the stars. Yeah, and Denzel was also in Glory, but he fought for the Union Army, as you said.
He won an Oscar for Glory.
Yes, he did. He was fantastic in Glory.
Matthew Broderick being in that movie is just kind of strange. I don't know. Anyway.
But Cary Elwes makes up for it.
He does. Yes. I mean, and Morgan Freeman.
And Morgan Freeman. Yeah.
Anyhow, if you haven't seen Glory, you should see Glory.
We will probably end up doing Glory one of these days on the podcast. It's an excellent movie.
Yeah. I haven't watched Glory. I have not watched Glory in a
I haven't either.
long time.
I haven't either. It's a great movie.
There's like two Civil War movies, Glory and Gettysburg.
I haven't seen
Gettysburg. I know there's Gods and Generals also, but
I mean,
it's so strange.
There's also The Last Samurai. That's a little bit of a Civil War movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess Django Unchained in a way. You get movies that deal with that time period in some ways, but like it should be an easy enough one to do. Anyway,
yeah. There's a ton of World War II and
going
Vietnam
back
movies,
in time,
but yeah,
yes, no, oh yeah. I mean, both of those get definitely represented.
Yeah,
and even like the Revolutionary, like you get like the Patriot. That's about it. So
yeah,
like you would think there should be a good movie out there, like chronicling like Valley Forge or something like that. You know, the Washington's like the Continental Army.
I mean, you got 1776.
Well, yes, but
with William Daniels,
great musical, by the way.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, so the next sequence, being the Colosseum is going to have, they plan to have Lucius to fight Acacius.
Yes, they have Lucius fight Acacius. And yeah, so they send Lucius out there. They send Acacius out there first. And then Lucius comes walking out. And Lucius can't wait to fight Acacius.
Yes,
And so the whole time Acacius doesn't want to fight Lucius because he knows that Lucius is Lucilla's son and the son of Maximus. And so he's trying to reason with him. He's trying to tell him, hey, I know who you are. I am trying to help you. I'm on your side. I know your father, or I knew your father.
Lucius keeps attacking him, and he's still skilled, soldier. So he's able to, very defensively, protect himself. But
so while they're fighting, everything that Acacius is saying to him, it's slowly getting through.
It is, but he eventually gets to the point where he's able to, overpower him.
Well, easily because Acacius isn't fighting back.
Yeah, no, he's just he's like, do whatever you want to do. Like, you can win this, and then in some ways it's kind of wise because he knows at some point then like it's gonna come down to the emperor's like, okay, is he gonna live or is he gonna die?
And meanwhile,
it's up to the gods.
Meanwhile, the emperors have Lucilla chained to her chair, and she's having to watch this. She's having to watch her husband fight her son. Knowing that at least one of them is going to end up dead.
And so they say, all right, let the gods decide, and they go the thumbs down. And now we have Lucius the Merciful. He puts down his sword.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, there's legionnaires all around the circle of the Colosseum, and they riddle him, Acacius with arrows. And both Lucius and Lucilla are helpless as they watch him die.
Yeah.
What a glorious death, by the way. Though.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he gets the Boromir treatment.
Without the hobbits.
But yeah, he just gets, because Lucius refuses to kill him, so he becomes a human pincushion.
Yeah, no, it's definitely the Boromir treatment, and yeah,
And
I mean, Peter Jackson and Sean Bean had made it impossible to see someone just get riddled with arrows in the movie and not think about Boromir.
Yeah, and I mean, even in the first Gladiator, you get a Boromir scene.
We do get a Boromir scene, yes.
Yeah, you get Hagen. He gets riddled with arrows.
No, yeah, you're kind of hoping that he, a lot of Maximus's guys still die in Gladiator. You don't really think about that. It's Jamon Hansu lives because he's Jamon Hansu.
Yeah. So
anyhow,
then we have, of course, Acacius falls, and a couple of the arrows they're all in his back. So a couple of them are breaking off as he hits the ground, and Lucius is taken back to his cell.
Yeah, and Macrinus, he's back there, and he's questioning him about why he didn't kill Acacius, because that's what they discussed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So he said he wanted to kill this dude.
And I just gave him to you on a silver platter. Why didn't you kill him?
He's like, Rome could be a better place than what all this is. They're just going to the whim of the mob and everything, right? And Macrinus doesn't like that answer.
No, he doesn't.
He realizes now, now this guy's going to be against me. Like, I thought I could use this guy to help me.
Mm-hmm. Because Macrinus, like we said earlier, he's playing a long con. He's got a long con going on. He has big plans.
He does.
And so then it's revealed after Macrinus leaves, then Lucius pulls out the back end of one of the arrows. He kept one just as a reminder.
Yes.
And it's still got some of Acacius's blood on it, on the fletching. And so then we get a scene with another Macrinus and the Emperor's scene.
Well, does he visit Lucilla first?
Lucilla visits him first. Yeah, so Lucilla visits him in his cell, which she's a prisoner, yet she's still given free reign to go and visit the slaves.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So that then
I thought there was a scene with Isn't there a scene with Macrinus and Lucilla though, where he talks about being a slave once himself?
Yes, there was.
And this was he was a slave during the reign of her father.
Yeah. Yes.
And
then Marcus Aurelius had a dream, and he's not a man who wants to dream. He's not a man who dreams. He's a man who acts. And
that's right. Yes,
he's the opposite of Marcus Aurelius. And so basically, since he was a slave during Marcus Aurelius, that was owned by Marcus Aurelius, he shows him the brand, and he's like, "Do you recognize Marcus Aurelius's mark?" Yeah. And so he basically tells her that since he was a slave under Marcus Aurelius, he's going to undo everything that he had done, that Marcus had done, everything that he had set in place.
Yeah, he's going to be that final push. It's like it's been teetering on this edge of like the empire collapsing because of such bad rule. He's going to push it over, essentially. And that's when you get him with the emperors, right?
Yeah.
And there's people already out in the streets. They're upset about what's happened in the Colosseum.
I think it was before. I think it was before the scene between Lucilla and Macrinus that Lucilla visited Lucius in the cell, and basically now at this point he's accepting everything that she had told him before, that she's his mother and that
he is right.
Maximus is his father and all this. And then she lets him know about their plan. And she gives him the ring.
Yes,
she does. Yeah, she gives him Maximus's ring that was Acacius's ring that was Maximus's, and then Marcus Aurelius's ring that was then given to Maximus, then given to Acacius, and now she's presenting it to Lucius.
This is all important.
Yes, and then so after she leaves, then he calls Ravi over and he gives him the ring. He tells him there's an army in Ostia. Go get him. Bring him out here. And then he's like, who I'm going to tell them, or who I'm going to say is requesting that they come. And he tells him Lucius. What's his middle name? Lucius Aurelius. But
Lucius Verus Aurelius.
Yes, Lucius Verus Aurelius.
That he's the heir from
that he's
Aurelius,
the Prince of Rome is the way he.
The Prince of Rome. That's right.
Lucas Verus Aurelius, the Prince of Rome, and then he gives him the ring. It's like show him the ring, Marcus Aurelius's ring,
right?
And so Ravi gets on a horse and rides off.
And then we had Macrinus.
Then we had Macrinus and Lucilla.
But then they get Macrinus with the emperors.
Yes.
And meanwhile, people of Rome were not happy with what happened earlier because they respected the general.
Yeah.
And then he just gets killed there.
In fact,
after being shown mercy.
Yeah, and after he got killed, then some of the people start revolting a little bit, and so there's
some rioting going on.
Yeah, there's soldiers with, there's the archers are all around the arena, and so they're turning their bows on the people in the stands.
Yeah,
to try to quell the little rebellion that's going on. And one or two people get shot.
So
in the stands.
Yep. Now we're back to the emperors and Macrinus. At this time, Caracalla is getting tired of Gaeta being bossy, being the more powerful one, and being pushed around. And Macrinus uses this as advantage.
Yeah.
Right? And manipulates him to kill him. Kill his brother.
So he gives Caracalla a blade. And Caracalla goes up, gets close to Gaeta, and he's talking to him, and all of a sudden just starts hacking at his neck.
Yep.
And eventually,
by the way, we haven't mentioned the pet monkey yet.
No, but that's coming. Yeah, Caracalla has a pet monkey.
Yeah,
that has been in a few scenes briefly.
Yes, he's in this scene too, but he becomes more important later. Anyway, and he starts hacking, but he can't really finish him off.
Yeah, so Macrinus comes in and he finishes cutting his head off. He finished cutting Gaeta's head off. And so then we have Caracalla in front of the senators. And he's
named his monkey consul.
Yes, he's explaining that his brother is no longer with us. And he is naming his consul. His first consul is his monkey.
Second
and then the monkey is sitting in a throne, he's sitting in a big throne, and he just starts dancing.
He is.
It's a dancing monkey.
Hey, listen, here's the thing. This is like the ancient world. If some crazy person just says, "Oh yeah, the brother I was ruling with, he's no longer with us. He sleeps with the fishes."
Yep.
And you accept it.
Yeah.
I mean, some dude with a bow is going to shoot me in the head, or I'm going to get decapitated.
Yep. And then he
stepping back.
Names his second consul. His second consul is Macrinus.
Yes.
And so once, they get everybody to cheer for Macrinus, for the monkey first, and then for Macrinus, then Caracalla leaves. And Macrinus walks over, picks up a bag, pulls out Gaeta's head, walks in the middle of the room, puts it down.
My favorite scenes of the movie.
And as he's talking, he's turning the head toward different groups of people.
Yes. I don't know if this is in the script or it's just a Denzel.
He does
little thing that he adds to it.
He does just.
It's perfect, whatever it is.
Everything. It's kind of reminiscent of Tropic Thunder.
Yeah, it is very much so.
But yeah, he does just about everything except stick his hand up there and work his mouth like a puppet.
And guess what? The Senate gets in line.
Yes, they do. So
his whole idea now is to have Lucilla killed in the Colosseum, or attempt to be killed in the Colosseum, with only Lucius to defend.
So basically, have the Praetorian Guard attack Lucilla and the senators who are plotting, and but Lucilla gets one defender, and it's going to be Lucius.
Yes.
And so before that, though, we get, Ravi actually makes it to the army at Ostia, and he presents the ring to the general there, or to the captain there, and, they ride toward Rome.
Yeah, so they're on the way, and Marcus's goal is that, okay, to start a riot with her potentially, with her being attacked, potentially killed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the entire idea is that, okay, they're going to riot again, and the best way to appease them is to get the person responsible for the killing of Marcus Aurelius' daughter.
Yeah.
The emperor.
Yeah. So
and then
so all the
idea is okay.
But we also have before this battle in the Colosseum, we have Lucius's plan taking effect. He gets all of the other gladiators together and gives a rousing speech.
Well, yeah. So he was able to get Ravi's keys, and he
and he let everybody out.
Doors.
Yes. He lets everybody out of their cells. Because remember, this is supposed to be just him defending Lucilla by himself against all the Praetorian guards. And so he, gathers all of the gladiators and, gives a rousing speech, and, they gets them all amped up. And then he goes out. He puts on, well, before he gives the speech, he goes and he puts on Maximus's armor.
Right.
He gets Maximus's armor and his sword.
Even before this, remember, who was it? The guy, what was his name? Vigo. Yeah, Vigo.
Yes, that's right.
Is gonna.
Yeah, before that,
he has no idea that the gates, the locks are unlocked.
No. Yeah, he has no idea the locks are unlocked.
Taunting him.
And Vigo, he pulls out a wooden sword. He's like, "Hey, you've earned your freedom, but only after this last battle. You got to survive this battle. Then you get the wooden sword." You survive this battle and you've earned your freedom. And so that then Lucius, busts open the door and tackles Vigo, takes the wooden sword and stabs him in the throat with it.
Stabs him in the throat with a wooden sword.
Yep.
It's still a sharp point.
It's like steel or wood, a point's a point.
And he gets everything else from there.
Yeah.
But then he has to go down and get the armor. This is his dad's armor.
Yes.
Maximus's armor. Right?
Yeah. So he gets Maximus's armor and his sword, gives a speech, and then goes out into the arena.
And then, again, like I said, Magnus's idea is that people revolt enough that if I in the Senate can give them the emperor, I can have the power.
Mm-hmm.
That's his thought. Of course, he doesn't understand that Ravi has gone to Ostia
to get the army.
And to get the army, and they're advancing right now. He doesn't know that yet.
No. So they start the match with Lucius versus everybody, all the Praetorians, and then shortly after the match starts, then all the gladiators come in, and it's just a battle royale.
Yes.
And Gracchus gets killed. One of the Praetorians comes up and they, slit
it's
Gracchus's
kind of
throat.
a quick thing.
And then, it was
kind of quickly, which is kind of unfortunate, to be honest.
Yeah, he had such a big part in the first movie. It's kind of, seeing him go out like that was just kind of disappointing. He deserved better.
Yes.
But so while everybody's fighting, Lucius gets up onto the cart because there's this carriage that
it's a carriage, and the other people part of the conspiracy are the ones pushing out the cart, and then they got Praetorian Guard in there.
Yeah, so there's basically this stake on top of there's this pole at the top of the cart that Lucilla is tied to.
Right.
And so Lucius gets up there and he's trying to untie her. Meanwhile, Macrinus, in this, everything sort of going according to his plan, sneaks up behind Caracalla and takes this spike and just drives it into his ear. Just through his ear into his brain and kills him.
Was a big shock, right?
Mm-hmm.
You knew that was coming pretty quickly.
Yeah. Then he picks up a bow.
Yeah.
And he aims it at... You don't know who exactly he's aiming at because Lucius and Lucilla are both right next to each other there. But he aims it at the people on the cart and shoots Lucilla right in the heart.
Right in the heart.
And then she does her quick goodbyes with Lucius. And Lucius sees that Macrinus is the one that shot her. So now he wants his head.
Hey, remember the rage.
Mm-hmm.
He's driven by rage.
Mm-hmm. So Lucilla dies, and Lucius gets down off the cart and chases. So right after Macrinus kills Lucilla, he runs because he knows what's coming.
Yeah.
So Lucius chases him. They end up on horses, and they're riding out. Macrinus gets to the gates of Rome
right outside the gates.
Just as the army is showing up.
The army is like right there.
Led by Ravi. And, the Roman army, like the Praetorians and, the army that was still at Rome is on the other side of the gates, on the Rome side. And so Lucius comes riding out behind him, and they get into a fight. You can tell,
like, the Roman army is like, when they're looking at the army that just came from us, is like, we really don't want to fight these guys. We know them.
Yeah. It's like, these are our buddies. We really don't want to fight them. But, yeah, so Macrinus starts giving a little speech, and then Lucius shows up. He gets off his horse, and they fight. Macrinus and Lucius.
He does enough to convince the people there, like, no, this is going to be for who is in charge. This is the rightful way to do it.
And then we have another little disappointing thing because it deserved better. But during the fight, Lucius swings Maximus's sword and hits a rock and breaks the sword in half.
Yeah.
It was his father's sword. You're not supposed to treat it like that.
No. I feel like if Aragorn broke Narsil again.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing here?
Yep. If he broke into
don't do that.
It's like it was shards, and then it was a whole sword again. Now it's shards again.
It's shards again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they end up fighting. They end up getting Lucius gets knocked into the river.
Yes.
And so Macrinus is standing on top of him, like stabbing down into the water, but the sword keeps hitting the armor and it's not going through.
Yes. Because the armor's badass.
Yeah.
So it's got Russell Crowe magic in it.
Yes. Yes. It's just billowing with Russell Crowe magic. Russell Crowe manhood. But anyway, so Lucius ends up getting up out of the water and gets a hold of the sword and just chops Macrinus's hand off, like halfway up the forearm. Just chops it off.
Is chops like the appropriate organ? Like, I hear chop, I feel like, okay, he's on a rigid surface, and then the blade comes down and then comes off. No, his arm's just out there, and the sword comes through.
And then
slices completely through his arm.
Yeah, one swing and his arm, like from like halfway down the forearm to his fingertips, is just gone. It flies away into the water.
Denzel's arm, just goes flying off. I don't know. Denzel still might not have an arm. I have no idea. I have not, but
yeah, I mean, like, they really cut his arm off? Because I want to see pictures of Denzel since the movie was made and see if he has both arms.
I'm still just trying to figure out how he's able to slice his arm off.
It was a sharp sword.
Not just slice off, but like it
was a sharp sword, and he was a strong guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then he slices him through the belly, allowing his intestines and everything to spill out as he falls back into the water and dies.
He dies. This passes Macrinus.
Yes. So Lucius gets out of the water, and he tells both sides of the armies who he is. And then they all sit around the campfire and sing Kumbaya.
No, they just eat beans and just fart.
Yeah, that too. Into the fire. And then they sing Kumbaya.
No, they accept him as the leader.
Yeah.
And
they decide there's not going to be a big battle today. And
he wants him to build a better Rome. We can build a better Rome.
Yep. So then we have Lucius.
Spoiler alert. No, you really don't.
Yeah, Rome falls eventually.
Damn Visigoths.
But yeah, so then Lucius goes back into the Colosseum, and he walks up to the cart and sees his mother there, dead.
she's still there.
She's just
they
dead.
completely forgot to get the daughter of the emperor.
Well, I mean, there was
The mother of the emperor at this point now.
there was a hullabaloo going on.
Yeah, it probably took a while to sort that out. Like, what are we safe?
So, yeah.
Are you gonna be crazy like the last couple of emperors that we've had?
Yeah.
He does. And then, I mean, I guess that's a good way to start. Like, hey, I'm going to treat my mom with respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we will have games slaughtering people to honor my mother's death.
Yes. Yes. Because that makes so much sense.
No, he goes there. He goes back in the Colosseum. The cart's there. And then, yeah.
And
he basically boards his parents because he kind of goes to the spot. He kind of feels like he's going to the spot where Maximus kind of buried his household gods in the first one.
Yep.
You never see them, actually. You don't see them.
Yeah, and he kind of runs his hands along the ground.
It's kind of heavily implied.
Yeah. Kind of runs his hands along the ground, sort of.
That's when Jamon Hansu just walks in. And he looks at them. He's like, you will see them again.
But not yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. Now this movie needed a Jamon Hansu appearance, even if it was just in one scene. It needed him.
It did.
He was sorely missed.
So,
but yeah, that's the movie. The credits roll.
There's no this Jamon that would have been, honestly though, like that would have been perfect for if they could have gotten him to be like a second person from the original movies.
Yes.
A movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, then the music swells. It's Hans Zimmer, and Hans Zimmer's
score is great. But it's not quite as memorable of a score as the first Gladiator, but it's still an excellent score. It basically relies a lot on that first score. So yes, there are snippets of that first score throughout the movie, but
yeah, it's a great movie, and maybe I shouldn't say great, but it's a good
movie. It's a good movie. It's enjoyable. It's nowhere near the caliber of the first one.
It's not,
but it's
not Russell Crowe.
Yeah.
Sorry, I mean that's
nothing against
he's
Paul Mescal, nothing against Pedro Pascal. They're not Russell Crowe.
But I think they would tell you they're just.
Although Pedro Pascal, I mean, I think if Pedro Pascal was the main character in this one, it might have been a little bit better.
Yes, because they could have changed. I don't know. They could have changed how they approach some things a little bit, but
yeah.
They only that it's Paul Mescal, or at least his character, because that's the connection to try to get into. As opposed to if they just kind of did a script that's entirely divorced a bit, that barely acknowledges.
Yeah.
Aside from the fact that there was this famous gladiator named Maximus.
Yeah.
And that's all they kind of do.
I mean,
I could see.
Or that. If even Paul Mescal, he did a great job. He was.
He did.
He was great in it. He was compelling and he did his job. And they could have had the same story without forcing the whole Maximus is his father thing.
Right. It's a weak part, no doubt,
but yeah,
that is what it is.
But yeah, because I mean, Pedro Pascal would have been if he was the main character, even if he wasn't like the general, if he was a different character, but his whatever character he played was the main character, then he'd be a more convincing champion gladiator, I guess.
Yeah,
he'd be more like the Russell Crowe role, more like Maximus.
Yes, absolutely,
in the arena than what we got with Lucius.
Nothing against Lucius. But it's just how it's the truth. So
because it's also just it's sort of the tired trope of the son's following exactly in his father's footsteps. He just happens to be also a gladiator.
Very good point.
And
yeah, I like that point. Yeah,
so it kind of that seemed a little forced.
Okay.
Where we have to have it's a legacy sequel, so we have to have the legacy character be in the exact same position as Russell Crowe's character from the first one.
Yeah. Like, do you? No, you don't.
It would work better if it wasn't his son that was the gladiator.
Yes.
But that's not to say it's not a good movie.
Any other thoughts on
it? Is a very enjoyable movie.
It's a good movie.
It's definitely worth seeing if you haven't seen it yet.
I think the production value on it's very good, and there's plenty of houses around that area, so it's probably a good fit for somebody. So
yep.
But I'm glad we did this one.
Me too.
Because it's a good contrast. I mean, I'm glad I think doing a sequel as it's in theaters is good, and yeah.
So anyway, anything else you want to say about it?
I don't think so. No, I just thought it was an enjoyable time at the movies, and it's a worthy sequel.
Yeah, it is. And again, it's
definitely more impressed than what I probably would have been 18 months ago.
Yeah, it definitely exceeded my expectations from when it was first announced.
There's a lot to like it. There's a lot to like in it.
Yeah, there is. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, check us out on Facebook and Instagram and Threads. We are Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure. The and is spelled out, A-N-D. It's not an ampersand like this is in the name of the podcast. We are also on X or Twitter. That is R&T Cinematic. If you want to check out our reviews on different movies, some that we've done on the podcast, some we haven't done, some we will do, some we won't do, then go to our Letterboxd. We are
go.
Cine Adventure or Cine Adventure, CINE Adventure. And if you want to let us know what you thought of Gladiator 2, did you like it better than the original? Did you not like it better than the original? Do you think it was a good sequel? Do you think it was a terrible sequel? What did you think about it? What are your thoughts? Let us know.
I would love to know what your thoughts are on this.
You can send us an email at robandtonycinematicadventure@gmail.com. Once again, the and is spelled out, A-N-D. It's not an ampersand like the name of the podcast.
Nope.
But yeah, just let us know what you think, or if, you don't want to see the movie, if you want to let us know that you're not planning on seeing it, then, feel free.
Yeah, right.
But if there are other movies that you would like to hear us talk about, let us know. We want to talk about some movies that are going to be pleasing to your ears. So
we're open to a lot of ideas.
Yes. We have a long list of movies that we have planned out. We don't know when we're going to do each of them, but we have a long list of movies that we want to do, and that's an ever-evolving list. We're constantly adding to it. So
constantly,
we want to do some movies that you guys want to listen to us talk about. And so yeah, shoot us an email. Let us know what you think. Yeah. Just go to our social media if you enjoy the show. If you want us to keep on going on with it, want it to continue, then just give us a like and a follow. Go to your favorite podcast app.
Focus on. So
yeah, go to your favorite podcast app, subscribe, give us a good rating, a good review. That's how we move up in the standings and the ratings and the search. And just comment on our stuff. Give us a good comment. If you give us a good comment or a good review, then we would be happy to give you a shout out on one of these episodes.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, if there's anybody out there that is musically inclined, that is musically talented, Tony and I would very much like to be able to put a theme song on this podcast, because all the best podcasts have theme songs. They have catchy,
a jingle would be nice.
Catchy theme songs, jingles. Doesn't have to be anything more than like 30 seconds or so, something like that.
That's right. But I agree.
But yeah, if you feel so inclined to throw together a theme song for Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure, send it to us, and you can email it to us or some other way get it to us, and we'll listen to it, and if we like it, it may become the theme song for the podcast. Yeah, and you will forever be immortalized on the internet with Rob and Tony's Cinematic Adventure.
Yeah, that's right.
But anyway, next time we're going to be doing something fun.
Yes,
we're going to be doing a fun movie. A movie that
I can't wait for this one.
For a long time, I would list this movie as a guilty pleasure movie.
Yes.
But then I got to really thinking about it. I'm not guilty about finding pleasure in this movie at all. I am not guilty at all about finding pleasure in this movie.
I thought about this myself for the last few days, and no, this is not on this list. I can see why people might think about it, but this movie knows what it's doing.
Yeah, it's not a guilty pleasure at all. It's just a pleasure. I love this movie.
No, this movie is a joy. It's a
joy.
And it's a lot smarter than you think it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Tell people what that movie is, Tony.
The Fifth Element.
I thought you were going to build it up a little more, but okay. Yeah. So yes, we
multi-pass.
Lilu Dallas multi-pass. Yes. We are going to be talking about The Fifth Element next time.
There's a Fifth Element.
The Bruce Willis, Mila Jovovich classic.
Hey, Luke Perry is in this movie.
Yes,
Show some respect.
Is. Yes, fine. The Bruce Willis, Mila Jovovich, Luke Perry classic. And Ian Holm. And Chris Tucker. Directed by Luc Besson.
There's two Lukes. There's Luke and Luke.
Yes, Luke and Luke. But anyway, so we will. I can't wait to talk about this movie.
I can't wait.
It's.
I just watched it last night, and I'm ready to talk about this right now. But it's not going to happen.
We'll talk about it next time. So
because it's 1:00 at night.
Yeah. So join us next time for The Fifth Element.